Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday live stream of the Paranormal Portal here on YouTube. Hope you guys are doing great, and thanks for being here. And I'm sure more of you will filter in as time goes on, but we pulled off another one. We made it. We did it. And this is a hump day, ladies and gentlemen, so that's always a good thing. But before I go too much farther, I should welcome my good friend and co-host, Mr. Don Longbeard, to the show.
Hello, as usual. Nice to see y'all.
Yeah, it's nice to see you too, Don.
Oh, thanks.
So I hope everything's going good out there, ladies and gentlemen. It is actually warming up here in the Pacific Inland Northwest, or however the hell you're supposed to say it. I don't even know.
We're the inland Pacific Northwest.
Inland Pacific Northwest.
Actually, we're the inland from the inland of the Pacific Northwest.
It's just all semantics. Like, God, what do we have to call ourselves now? So I was making the mocking face about that, not about you, brother. So
I wasn't even paying attention.
Oh,
I
nice.
was just doing my thing.
Nice, thanks.
Because that's what we do up in here. We just do our thing.
We do. That's all we do. It's all we know. But it is getting warmer. The snow is melting, so I'm finding myself a little more joyous every day. The more that white crap goes away, the happier
God,
I feel.
Yes.
So
God, yes. As a matter of fact, somebody just asked Ken. Pixie just asked Ken about his hen house, and I got to go dig mine out. Mine's just horrible. I've been seriously neglectful of my chickens. So the quicker the snow goes away, then I'll get there better.
Yeah, they're probably looking forward to that. Are you feeding them?
Oh yeah. All good. But I mean, they really want out. They want me to open their door, and I can't do that yet. Because I don't. If they don't go back in, I don't want to
corral them.
Yeah, exactly. Because chasing them around in 4 foot of snow is not a way to do it.
I don't think. I think I'd be chasing them with a pump action.
Well, yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
That's the 410 underneath the bed,
Oh, so, it is. Okay,
yeah, that's what that's for. But
varmints and wayward chickens.
Definitely wayward chickens.
It all works on the grill.
Hey, we got another local. Oh, this is Julia. Julia, sorry we didn't get you that phone number last week when Deb was on the phone, but hopefully we'll get you that number again, and she'll be on the show again. So just keep watching, paying attention. We do appreciate our neighbors here in Sandpoint. So just wanted to let you know we have not forgotten about that. We'll get you that number as soon as we have one of those shows.
what I'm sorry, I'm missing
Julia in the chat room.
Okay,
she's one of our Sandpoint locals, and she was desperately trying to get a hold of the 800 number. For the Deb show for when Deb was on Friday.
Oh, yeah, I put out the feelers, but I couldn't get a hold of anybody.
Yeah,
I'm sure. Did you try the 833 TFR Live?
Yeah.
Did you give that to her?
No, I did not.
Oh,
so
that's.
Oh, she did get to talk to her.
Oh,
it was.
good.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was Jessica. That's right.
Oh.
Jessica and Julia. That's right. Thank you,
what I
Julia.
thought.
But let Jessica know we are terribly sorry.
Do they know each other?
Apparently so.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's what I gathered, at least.
It's like I don't know anybody around here. I've been here for, I guess, 4 years now, and it feels like I still, I know a handful of people, the same people that I've known for a long time, and I don't know. But that's fantastic. It's really cool you guys found us.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It just feels kind of homey and comfortable that way,
Yeah.
Like, the neighbors are watching. I got to make sure I'm not a complete idiot now, because I can be socially ostracized if I'm not careful.
It is funny. People are starting to pay attention here in town.
Oh, really?
Somehow. There's a couple people. They haven't outright, put it together who I am and where I'd rather they not.
Yeah.
But people are definitely taking notice. A lot of it, because we have our people that put out information on the different websites here,
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. So, yeah, it is. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. We're not only a global show, but we're also local.
Yeah. Speaking of global.
Yeah.
You were just looking at those numbers of the spread across the world.
Yeah, I was showing Don the analytics.
Wow.
Of how many people are checking us out, and it's literally globally. We have people from Sweden, Denmark, Norway, the United Kingdom, across Europe. Russia had a view from Russia.
Yeah, we had a view from South Korea too. Yeah,
South Korea. Yeah, we've had a few around the Asian communities, and yeah, I mean South America, Mexico, all over the place. People are checking it out. So
we are growing.
We're growing, ladies and gentlemen, and you guys are the responsible for that. Thank you so much. But please continue to spread the word, because it is growing, it's getting bigger, and it's really an amazing experience to watch this become what it's becoming. And I would love to take more credit for that, but honest to God, it's you guys out there that are spreading the word and saying, "Hey, check this out! I found this show." And so every success we have as a show, it's directly related to you guys out there spreading the word. So thank you from a very deep and humble place.
Right. Yep,
thank you for that, because you guys are making this happen. So I really appreciate it. And it was an amazing couple of shows this last weekend. It was really cool. And I have to especially thank Mrs. Deb Varner again for being on. It was an incredible time. Deb, I got a story to share with you about what happened as we were setting up for Saturday's show. But it's a good one. I think maybe I did. No, I did share it with you. Never mind.
Was that when we were?
It was when we were Skype testing. Remember?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that was crazy.
It was pretty. It was diabolical.
It was diabolical.
It really was a diabolical.
That's a good word.
Ladies and gentlemen, awesome. What had happened was Don and I were testing, and we've had experiences around the house here and around the studio, and we've it's kind of tongue in cheek. The show is haunted, but kind of not.
It kind of really is.
It kind of really is, and we've had so many bizarre things happen. But we're getting ready to test Skype, and so I did a group call, called Don's Skype, and then called his phone, called my phone, got it all networked together, and it was playing through the speakers. And no kidding, this male mocking voice is like like that. It came through. It was just this weird,
like an EVP thing.
Yeah. I mean, it was just so bizarre. And Don and I both looked at each other like,
nah, that didn't happen.
Oh no, I knew it did. And I was like,
oh no, that didn't happen.
Yeah, well, that's where you are, Mr. Denial. He's almost Egyptian because he's in denial. But
it was crazy. Yeah,
it really was.
Yeah,
true story, ladies and gentlemen. We had our true life EVP. I wasn't able to record it because, hell, I was just testing Skype. I wasn't set up to record anything, but I wish to God I had, because it was really cool and just bizarre. It was a sound that just didn't fit anywhere. It didn't, like, there was a regular loop just from the delays and stuff, but this sound was its own unique thing. And it was pretty much what Dan Pruitt was saying when he's on there. Is like, when you catch an EVP, you can tell it's not something that fits like everything else is fitting. Right. It just sits on top of it in its own place. And it definitely was. It was really bizarre.
It was crazy, yeah.
Really cool, though. I thought it was cool. But anyway, I think I did share that with Deb now that I'm thinking about it. But I think I shared it with her after I just woke up, so I was really foggy. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not an early riser. I can sometimes be an early riser, but I'm a really slow riser. Like I'm like almost reptilian, where I got to lay on a rock until my blood warms up.
Don't say that, reptilian. Goodness.
Until my blood warms up, It's like I'm laying out there until something warms up so I can move. But that's the way I wake up every day. I'm just totally, just almost dead. And so I managed to chat with Deb soon after waking up that next day. And I was like, oh, Deb, check this out. And so we did talk about it. But yeah, very, very wild experience. And that was right here in the Paranormal Portal Studios.
Yep.
Where anything and everything can happen, and usually does. So, but again, a special thank you to Mr. Jim King, the Bear. We had a phenomenal time having him on the show. It was just a really cool guy, and and it's really wild because you talk to him, and he talks like, somebody you've known in the family forever. I mean, he doesn't have any pretense. He doesn't have any ego. It's just him sharing what he loves. But the depth of the knowledge that man has about the subject is just mind-numbing. He has it so dialed in. He's got it so sorted out, and it's just impressive as hell. So it was a phenomenal show, and I don't know if you guys listened to that one or not, but
Pixie and Lewis said, it was a great night.
It really was. And if you haven't heard it, please go back and check it in the YouTube archives or on TFR Live /Paranormal Portal. You can check it out there. I think actually the sound quality on the TFR Live was better than the YouTube. Even though it's the same stream, it's just, I don't know what Chris does, but I think he's got some sound filters that really clean it up a little more. Yeah. So it sounds much easier to hear him, because he had kind of this, he was calling from a cell phone on location. So he's out in a rural wilderness somewhere, and it was like it would go to be like this teeny muffled sound to normal, and it was subtle for the most part, but it was noticeable when when his phone would go this and like this, and then it'd be like this, and then he's talking and it'd be like this again, and it was over the course of minutes it would do that, but the so far what I've heard of the archive on tfrlive.com was a much better sound quality, so. I don't know, unless you'd rather look at us. But we had a picture of Bear, so that was cool.
Yeah, we had a picture of him.
We had a picture of him up there. I did it kind of like the newscast, it's like on the phone, on location. Excuse me. But we just had a tremendous run here on the portal, and, keep spreading the word, ladies and gentlemen. We're really making some huge strides and doing some really cool things, but spread the word. We really need the subscriber numbers on the YouTube channel here and, the views. We just want people to really check out what we're doing. We're giving it a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and love, and so the more people that find out about it, the more rewarding this becomes. So, but anyway, like I've said a million times before, I'd do it if only 2 people were watching or 1 person was watching.
Yeah, that'd be me.
I mean, really, wouldn't you, Don, though? Wouldn't you do this if there was like
absolutely.
Just like your brother-in-law was watching or something, just like one of those deals.
Right.
Or it's like my best friend's cousin's sister once removed or whatever. I know I would. I just love doing it. But it's been really rewarding getting the feedback and the encouragement that we're getting from so many listeners. So, and please keep those stories coming. If you've got stories, things you've experienced. This Friday, I'm going to go through the ones that I've been collecting lately. The last several shows, I just haven't been able to do it because we've had guests. But this Friday, I'm going to go over those stories. So, if you've got a story that you've experienced, anything paranormal, I don't care about what kind of paranormal, even like I said, even if it's just a little mundane thing, but it was weird to you, send it in. I love those stories so much, and I want to do that on Friday. So hopefully we'll get a few more stories to, but I have already got a really nice long email from one of our listeners that I'll be reading on that night.
So it's paranormalportalradio@gmail.com, right?
Yes, thank you.
There you go.
So I guess where do we send them? Yeah, thanks for picking that up.
Yeah, and there's someone, a first-time listener, Brian W. That's listening. He asked if we ever have any guests that talk about their. I think he might be talking about NDEs.
Oh, near-death experiences?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I just wanted to put out there that phone number in the bottom left corner is not an active line right now. Well, so calling would not be.
It is, but it's to a different show.
Well, yeah, it's not to us.
So if you're going to call and try to get hold of us, you're going to be pretty disappointed, but you'll probably, enjoy the conversation. It's actually Gematria with Zach Hubbard.
Yeah, Zach Hubbard, yeah.
Right now on TFR Live. That's the TFR Live call-in number, so I just used the same graphics on the Wednesday.
Might as well.
Well, it'd be a hell of a lot of work to keep switching them back and forth and keep it sorted. So, what would happen? I'd do it right for about 2 times, and then every other time I'd screw it up.
Then it'd be the Brent show.
Yeah. I'd forget.
Which it is Brent's show, don't get me wrong, but...
Yeah, but no. So the number will work on Friday and Saturday when we're doing the stream, but on these Wednesday streams, it's just us. So if you have something you want to say or something you want to communicate to us here, just say it in the chat room on YouTube, and either I'll read it or Don will. So we'll get some kind of response to you. Excuse me, I'm a little froggy. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. But tonight's show we're gonna do some paranormal encounters, and it's just. Coming off those last several shows with Dan Druid and then Deb and then Bear, it was just like
riding high.
Yeah, I mean it's. But do you know what the problem with that is that how do we keep that? How do you follow that? Yeah, it's like you get that killer hit list, and then all of a sudden you're back to. And don't get me wrong, I love the subject matter in any way, no matter what. But no, Brian, if it was about NDEs, I've read a ton of material about NDEs over the years, and I'm a firm believer in them. And if you have a story of your own, please email it. I'd love to share it as well. Or on Friday, if you are listening, call in and share a story of your own. That'd be great. We have the call boards open, and we don't have any guests slated for this weekend, so I expect. I hope to hear from all you guys.
Yeah, you could be our guests.
Well, all you guys are.
Guests,
yeah,
be our guests. Never mind. Sorry. We've been talking about Disney tonight.
We did the Lion King theme song before the show. So, and Don went into a sad place about all the shenanigans, but
my reasons why I'm skeptical of everything.
Yeah, so
well, you know what they did on the cover of The Little Mermaid, right?
Yeah, he went into all the conspiracies about the phallic symbol on the Little Mermaid, and it goes from there into worse. So I guess there was like a nipple slip on Jessica Rabbit on the
yeah.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah,
I like that one. I mean, that was a good movie.
I've never seen any of these. I've never gone back and go, well, let me just go frame to frame so I can see a cartoon nipple.
Oh, we don't have to. That's like people backmasking music back in the 60s and 70s, and it was found out in the 80s, and everybody's like, oh, you got to play this Led Zeppelin song backwards. Somebody else will do it. You just have to be cognizant enough to listen.
Be patient enough,
you'll hear about it,
or Google it enough to find the screenshots.
Exactly. Yes,
yeah, that's for sure.
Especially the one about the Great Mouse Detectives.
Yeah, that one's actually got me intrigued, and not I'm not trying to be perverted or anything, but it's like, you serious?
The Rescuers. That's what it is. That it wasn't. It was.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the Rescuers. Thank you, Pixie. I was trying to remember. It was called the Rescuers, and then there was the Rescuers Down Under. But we're not talking about that one. We're talking about the first one.
Where they visited Ken.
Ken, who needs to put in more viewing time.
Yeah, we were looking at our Australia stats, and it was like, God, Ken needs to step it up. Ken, I want you to just put that on loop and go to bed.
Yep, there you go.
No, I'm just kidding. It is really cool, though, to look and see all the people that have been checking it out. It's like, wow, really? So who would have thought enough people would be paying attention to me?
Yeah, I know.
I'm all for it, though. But anyway, we're going to get into stories of paranormal encounters tonight, so hope you enjoy it, and hope you having a good time tonight so far. We're doing our best to keep you entertained. Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?
I'm just trying to get rid of this frog before I start reading.
I'm here to amuse you. Do I amuse you?
Take it away, Don.
Oh, sorry. Nope, that's fine. Hey, did I tell you about the moose that were in my yard this weekend?
No,
I couldn't. Well, it wasn't this weekend. It was Monday, I think. I went out to go get my pickup to go to work, and I got a mama and a yearling standing right next to my pickup.
Ooh,
I'm like, okay, I'm not going out there yet.
Did you go ahead and pet it?
No, yeah. I said, oh, good dinner.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not aware of this, moose will kill more people per year than a grizzly. I mean, seriously.
They actually will,
There are more fatalities due to people encountering moose than there are grizzly or bears.
Yeah.
So these are not an animal you want to mess with. And I'm here to tell you, they're really as big as a freaking house. They're not, it's not just look at that large, majestic animal. That thing is a house on hooves. It's just huge. And they tower about 7 feet plus.
Oh, yeah. This, the mama was its head was above my lifted pickup.
Wow.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's an enormous, enormous animal. So they are just usually pissy if people come around. But I'm glad those have been peaceful, but yeah, really creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, cool, beautiful, don't get me wrong, but yeah, you got to be careful. You didn't let the dogs out then, right?
Oh, no, my dogs were already out. I'm surprised they came back in one piece. But yeah, wow. They walked around the front on like Monday. They walked around by my pickup. They wandered around. They actually hung around until like last night. They actually hung around until last night, and they moseyed off last night.
Wow. Well, there you go. They're hanging out at Don's. They'll be on the grill by the weekend.
Well,
no, I'm kidding.
I can't say anything about that.
I can neither confirm nor deny. All right.
As far as I know, there's still 2 out there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. All right. So the first one is a visitor in the Croft. I studied abroad in July in Italy. July? How did you get July out of that? I'm sorry. Let me start this over, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to lean in for effect. I studied abroad in Italy my junior year of college and lived at this old castle. The students stayed in what is affectionately called the Croft, C-R-O-F-T. Every night we would hear noises like someone walking, but we would just assume it was the old wood building creaking or somebody going through to use the restroom. One weekend, the whole group except me and 2 others decided to go to Milan for the weekend. Well, one evening, as I lay in bed reading a book and waiting for my friend to get back from the library, I distinctly heard the sound of the croft door open and close. I then heard halting steps on the stairs. These were not subtle creaks, but obvious footsteps. So I assumed it was my friend or his girlfriend coming back, so of course I thought nothing of it. Then the steps began to sound closer and closer to my door. Well, that's not creepy at all. But I heard no voices, and an unexpected chill crawled up down my spine. I felt nervous, so I yelled, "Is that you, Dave?" The steps stopped just outside my door. But again, no one spoke. I was starting to become terrified when I heard my friend and his girlfriend walking down the path outside, and I immediately stuck my head out my window and called out to them and asked who was in the croft. They replied that no one but me was in there. I did not even hesitate. I jumped out my window, and the moment I was out, I heard the door to my room slam open and heard what I can only describe as a whispered scream of rage.
Wow.
Wow, that's all kinds of creepy. No one in the group ever believed me, but I asked the castle's cook about it, and she explained that there were ghosts in the croft. 3, in fact. One little girl that liked to play pranks, one weeping woman, and one malicious man with a hate for the living.
Wow.
Sounds like a great place for college kids.
Hey, let's go.
Jesus. Why would you set college kids up in the place? No, it's fine. It's low rent, but there's the ghost that hates the living, but other than that, it's nice and cozy. What the hell? Are you serious? Bet you that wasn't on the brochure.
There wasn't a reason to come here, was it?
Yeah.
Why would I want to do that?
Yeah, how stupid is that? Wow. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Do not live in anything called the croft. Ever. How could anyone live in this house? Growing up, I used to spend the night at a house that was, in my opinion, haunted. My friend lived there with her family, and they all thought nothing of the sinks turning themselves on and off at night, sporadically. Not a drip, mind you, but full-on sink for 3 seconds and then nothing. It would wake me up every time and scare the hell out of me. Other haunted stuff at this house was the TV turned itself on sometimes and changed channels by itself. One time we laid in the bed upstairs talking, and the TV turned on and started slowly flipping through different channels of static. The next one, my friend's bedroom was the bonus room, so she had the door to the attic in her ceiling.
Oh.
If we stayed up talking too late, we would hear warped wood start creaking back and forth across the door. So scary when you're all of 14 years old. The worst thing was that this was the thing that made me officially stop going over to her house. One time the whole family packed up and went to Sam's Club to go shopping. And as a bored 14-year-old, I came with them. The mom locked up the house as usual, and we shopped for 30 minutes tops, and then came home. When her mom went inside, she tried flipping on the lights, didn't work. She said, "I wonder if the power's out," and tried other lamps. Nothing. After a swift check of the house, it was discovered that all the light bulbs in the house had been moved to the 4 corners of the living room. I don't know why, but I remember crying when we discovered them. For some reason, it was deeply scary for me. Wow. Very profound activity, though.
Crazy, yeah.
I mean, that's, to have something move is in and of itself a very profound level of activity. But when you're talking about the articulate motion of removing light bulbs from all over the house and putting them in the corners of one room, that's a whole lot of manipulation going on there.
Absolutely.
That's no little thing right there, ladies and gentlemen. That's a pretty big haunting. Okay, this one is, I woke up out of bed in the middle of the night. I walked out into the living room and saw my dad slumped over and walking to the front door. I just stood there and watched, and he walked outside and sat down on the sidewalk that went up to the front door. I watched him through the window for a second, and he just sat there, staring into a tree with no expression on his face. He looked really pale and almost bluish. I then walked down to my parents' room and woke my mom and asked her why Dad was sitting outside. Then I will never forget it. She said, "What are you talking about? He's right here."
Oh, boy.
And I looked over her, and my dad was laying asleep in bed.
Oh.
Still scares me to think about it.
Doppelganger?
Yeah, it sounds like it, huh? Or enough of a similarity anyway. But it could be a familial thing. I don't know.
True. Yeah.
I mean, if this is a home that, relatives had lived in or ancestors or something, you don't know. So there could be a resemblance, or it could be a blown out doppelganger kind of thing. I don't know. It's just weird. So like activities like that really, really make me think. It's like, I understand haunting. I do. But what I don't understand is is it kind of like on the TV show Supernatural, where it's like, yeah, if you stay behind, you're going to be fine for a while, but sooner or later you're going to go nuts.
Right.
So do these spirits of people that stick around that are earthbound for some reason, do they eventually go nuts? Do they just go and sit and stare at walls and do weird crap like that? That's really hard to understand what the hell's going on or what was the purpose. Or is it just a real big attempt by some spirit to be noticed? And so it doesn't really know what to do, but it's just going to do something
that's going to do something
that can't be ignored. Yeah. So
what the hell is that?
I don't know, but you hear so many stories of that. Yeah, it's like this whole, I'm going to stare at a blank wall. Really? For how long? And what is that doing for you exactly? Because I imagine it would be, like drilling your temples or something,
Yeah, no doubt.
I think and there might be something to that, to the whole madness after a while, because they say that when spirits of the living pass on, that they're basically the same when they're in the afterlife, but for how long? So if you're sitting in this afterlife and largely ignored completely, unless you do something really bizarre, and watching all this stuff happening, not being able to talk, not being able to communicate. And again, I'll go back to that movie Castaway. Do you start making friends with balls and stuff? You know what I mean? Does it get that deep? I don't know. Very strange. All right, the next one. I woke up out of bed in the middle of the night. I walked out in the living room and... No, this is one I just read. And it was so good, I was going to read it again, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry. The next one. This is a short one, but we'll see what it has to say. My father, whenever somebody dies in his side of the family, a crow comes to him in his dreams and squawks the person's name. Oh, that's very, very...
Eleanor.
Eleanor. Where the hell did you come up with Eleanor?
That's the crow.
Oh, yeah, there you go. It happened the first time to him as a 6-year-old when his dad died, and ever since. Once every couple of years, he gets up in the morning and says the crow came again, takes the day off of work, and just waits for the call. I haven't seen him be wrong yet.
Wow.
That is really profound. It's very symbolic.
Yeah, well, the crow is very symbolic of, a harbinger of some type.
Yeah, they're largely misunderstood. They're not actually a dark thing at all. They're considered to be some kind of messenger or whatever in truth, but people equate them with the whole, dark and, stormy night kind of thing. But that's not, in fact, the symbology of them. You have to look it up, ladies and gentlemen. It's very cool. Sorry. Had to wet the whistle. It works. There we go. Don's works too, apparently. So, Don, how many people are in now?
You know what? We got a few in there. We are looking at... Oops, I got to quit plugging there. We've got 10 in there. We've got Ken, Pixie, Brian's here. We got Brian W. and Brian G.
Okay.
Let's see. We got Julia, who is our neighbor here. We got T-Fetch, Lady Death. Let's see here. Who else we got in there? Did I say... Oh, Lady Death. Yeah, I said Lady Death. Actually, I think I've pretty much covered them. And then you and me.
And then us.
And then us.
So if you're in the chat room and you want to be acknowledged, let us know and we'll give you a shout out here on the show.
I missed Lewis. Hi, Lewis.
Hey, Lewis. Yeah, I knew Lewis was in here.
Yeah.
I talked with him a little bit ago.
Oh, and Dawn. Hi, Dawn.
Dawn. Cool.
Dawn.
But I was going to say something as well. Now I forgot it. That's all right. It happens to me all the time, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my world. It's like a portal of itself. And in here, things go in and out all the time. All right, a lingering spirit of sadness. In early 2007, I was on a traveling singing group. There were 8 of us on the team, and the team members were switched every year. We were invited to stay the evening at the house of the previous member named Drew. Drew wasn't home, so it was his mom, his sister, and his brother who hosted us. Now, we'd all known that Drew's dad died about 4 years earlier, but he died of a heart attack and not in the house. I generally try not to be superstitious, but I went into the house and immediately felt a little uncomfortable. I blamed it on the fact that Drew and I had never really seen eye to eye, or that I felt bad for his mom who had been widowed so young and left with 3 children. As sleeping space was limited, I got put down on a cot in the basement along with another girl in my team. The basement wasn't a creepy basement by any means. It had been refurnished and was pretty comfortable. My cot was only about a foot from the wall, and there was the small old digital clock between the wall and the cot. I fell asleep in my usual manner, facing the wall back to the room. At 2:48 a.m., I'll never forget the clock since it was the only thing I could focus on. I woke up very suddenly. I was immediately frozen in bed. My heart was racing, my throat went tight, and I couldn't swallow. It was primal fear at its best. I couldn't roll over to check, but I swear even now that something was standing over me. Everything in my instinct told me not to turn around. It felt like my life depended on me staying right where I was. During this time of intense fear, I kept seeing images in my mind, flashes of gore and pain, out of horrible things. I could hear a laughing in my ears, but not the voice of just one person laughing. It sounded like I was in a room with thousands of things laughing. I remembered for the first time having suicide cross my mind during this overwhelming fear-driven time.
Wow.
I should note that I am not and have never been suicidal. When the feeling went away, the last thing I remember hearing in my mind was, "Not this one." I looked at the clock again, and only 9 minutes had passed. Longest 9 minutes of my life.
No kidding.
A few hours later, when I got up, I decided I was going to get the hell out of there as quickly as I possibly could. I skipped a shower and breakfast and sat in the van waiting for the rest of the team. As I was waiting, Drew's brother came out and spoke with me, and he said one sentence: "I'm sorry I couldn't help you this morning."
Oh.
As he said it, he had tears in his eyes. He honestly looked like he was going to be sick to me. The look of hopelessness in his eyes still haunts me. 2 weeks later, we got word that Drew's brother killed himself just before 3 a.m.
Oh, wow.
Ever since the incident, I still have dreams of the laughing. Part of me wonders if I would have just tried talking to his brother. Maybe things would be different. I never spoke about this to anyone but my husband. It brings back a chill to my spine and a sense of guilt. I don't know what to make of it or what the hell really happened in that house. Part of me never wants to know. Wow. So apparently the brother was plagued by this very same thing. And that was the one they were looking for.
Absolutely crazy.
Jeez. But he was aware of that, so that's really powerful. I imagine the little brother was probably a natural sensitive.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, the belief is that people with psychic abilities, I mean, I believe we all have psychic abilities, but some people are just born turned on, where they don't have any problem accessing those things and usually don't know what the hell to do with it, but they are wide open to that kind of stuff. But they act as a beacon. They really radiate a light, and it draws all kinds of negative crap to them. So, you know, if you are sensitive and you notice that seems to have bad things happening all around you, you could be a target too. And I'm not chuckling in laughter. It's just like, don't take that lightly. Definitely learn how to use your gifts. I think that's the key. And I've had that, had people reaching out a few times about hauntings to me since doing the show, and getting those people in touch with psychics and finding out that those people are very gifted themselves, and that's part of what the caused the attachment to begin. And I don't mean attachment in a possession kind of way, just that it targeted that person for, having problems. Now, why do they target the sensitives? I don't know.
Because they're more open.
Well, they're more open.
They're more open, yeah.
But I mean, it's not always about possession, right?
Well, you have to. Well,
so they must gain something from people with those abilities more so than most other people.
Well, I think if you're going to go there, then we should say something about like because they are more open and susceptible, that they possibly maybe drag around a portal with them, or a weakened part in the veil that Doesn't necessarily that they don't manifest, but the spirit or the being can manifest through, without consciously, like, like playing with the Ouija board. You close your session,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe there's something with empaths or people more sensitive, whatever that may be, that things can manifest around them, not necessarily in them, but around them. Does
Mm-hmm.
that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
It's a very valid idea, very valid theory, and you could be right on. It's tough to know, but I know that so many people that are naturally gifted like that,
Mm-hmm.
they do tend to have issues with that, with things lurking around them, and of course
Right.
they're also aware of it, which makes it even double worse. And maybe we all experience those things, but it becomes so much more of an issue because these sensitive people are more aware of it,
Right.
and therefore more afraid, and generating more fear means that it's widely believed that negative entities feed on fear.
Right.
That somehow they gain sustenance from that energy, that fear energy, and so perhaps by being naturally gifted, by being on,
Mm-hmm.
they become aware of the presence and become aware of the emotions attached to that,
Right.
and they generate all kinds of food.
And,
Yeah.
and Don says, Don said that attracted, not so much, not so much.
Right, attracted is a good word.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that could be from anywhere, as opposed to what I just said about them being able to, you know, manifest in that area, but more they come to that person or
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and she also said our energy is so bright and
Yep.
unleashed that entities are magnetized to that frequency. Very true. Very good way to put it. Thank you. That's excellent feedback and an excellent spin on it as well. I would also say that it doesn't necessarily only mean negative entities too. It can mean positive
Right.
entities.
Well, true. Yeah.
I think that a lot of times wayward spirits, stuck spirits are going to gravitate towards those people because they want their message heard.
Right.
There's something they need in terms of closure and stuff, so they're going to seek these people out and plague them with their woes, like tell my sister
Right.
I forgot to pay the rent, or something.
And this was a rented tux I was put in.
Yeah, exactly. And so
That's gonna suck for them.
tell my mom that wasn't mine, it was my friend's.
Yeah. I was holding for someone.
I was holding for someone. Yeah, you never know. But you know what I'm saying, and I'm of course being cheeky, but I think that both positive and negative things are going to be drawn to that and attracted, and that was a very, very succinct way of putting it, Don.
Right.
Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you.
No, I said Don.
Oh, that Don.
But Don too.
Yes, that Don,
I mean,
yes.
your insights on that are very profound as well.
Oh, thank you.
Of course.
Gosh,
There's a
goodness.
reason you're sitting here, and it's not all because of your fine good looks, sir.
Because I know that is not prerequisite in my business.
It's not in mine either.
It's the voice.
That's the voice.
You have to have the voice.
You gotta have the voice, I guess. I don't know.
Thank God there isn't somebody here going, I absolutely hated it. You were pitchy in this area and that area, and that song sucks anyhow.
Well, that's most of.
Oh, you know what I realized today?
What's that?
I was listening to my kind of a hero, Mr. Art Bell, today, and I realized, do you know how much ABBA he played during his shows?
Oh God! Take a chance on me.
Yeah. Hey, I just realized. I'm sorry.
Well, there you go. There's obviously no problem with his tastes.
No.
No, I actually liked ABBA. I liked ABBA really, really very well. I mean, they were actually very musically, very dynamic.
Yes.
I mean, it was a really weird era for music anyway, but they really,
That's true.
it was very listenable and didn't have such a short shelf life as all the disco crap.
No, that's
So,
true. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's been
So-
crazy. But anyhow, I just thought it was an interesting, parallel there.
Who else would have listened to Art Bell and caught all the ABBA?
I don't know.
There you have it. So, all right, footsteps on the landing. By the way, yeah, remember the Isle of Man?
Right.
Three
Three views. Yeah.
That was Ian. That's all Ian.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's not Ian Magic Oak, or Ian's Magic Oak. It's
Two feathers.
Two Feathers, a friend of ours from way back when, to the genesis of the show. He's clearly been checking out some videos, so God bless you if you're listening to me. I noticed. So
We do see ya.
we do see. All right. So Footsteps on the Landing is next. This will probably get me buried. Wow,
Okay.
good start. But well, new house. I was about 12 years old. Backstory, my dad is military and usually carries wherever he goes. My dad and I were in the basement den just watching a John Wayne movie or something. My sister and my mom were out getting groceries. And while we're watching the movie, the door at the top of the stairs opens. My dad calls out to Mom to ask if she needs help. No answer. Steps slowly come down the stairs, pausing at the landing. At this point, my dad has his gun out and has motioned for me to hide behind the couch. My dad calls again for whoever it was to identify themselves. Still no answer. I'm hiding, but I can see a little bit of the room, and I, idiotically, want to keep an eye on my dad. The noises hit what should have been the second to last step. My dad crouches and spins into the stairwell with the gun aimed, but he looks confused. Next thing I know, the thing runs up the stairs and slams the door at the top.
Huh.
My dad is very obviously shaken. He holsters the gun and tells me there wasn't anybody there. We go out for ice cream.
Nice. That is a great ending to that story.
So funny.
Let's get out of here.
It was nothing. Let's go get some ice cream somewhere that's not here. That's funny.
Wow, yeah.
No, the ice cream in the fridge is no good. We got to go to the store. Get the fresh stuff. That's funny. You know, he's being a manly and got caught with the trowels.
Well, you know, that happens. I mean, especially in that kind of a situation. I mean, what would you do? You're freaked out because you think somebody's in your house, and then you realize there's nothing there.
So here's my thing, and I've mentioned it before, but I really firmly believe in this. And the idea is that, yeah, paranormal things happen, and yeah, they are very profound and very incredible events usually. Either very positively incredible or very negatively incredible, but incredible nonetheless. But I think that in a lot of cases, and this is just me trying to find some esoteric meaning behind it all. Mm-hmm. So, because otherwise it's just this random thing that some gets bored and goes, oh, screw it, I'm going to move the coffee, mm-hmm. And it just seems to be these random events. But someone like the dad, and it sounds really stereotypical, but okay, he's packing. He's, Joe Military and Mr. Hardball, and probably believes in himself, his gun, and the ammunition in it, and maybe his family members, but everything else is just, whatever.
Whatever.
So, whatever. And I think that for him to have that event happen, that's a paradigm shift. And that's what I think might be the more deep esoteric meaning behind it, is it's a paradigm shift. So it was meant for him to receive that event, right. Because at the very least, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, he has to question his entire paradigm at that point, because the universe just changed dramatically.
Right.
His universe just dramatically changed. And I'm making the assumption, of course, that he's not had other experiences, or maybe has, whatever, dismissed them all. But to have this experience at this point, and to obviously be trying to hide it, but to be so unnerved that he wanted to go out and get ice cream.
Like, he needs a calming influence.
And he wanted a reason to get out of the house like now. So his paradigm shifted. And I think that that's very profound, because he has to re-examine his nature of reality. And so perhaps there is a higher meaning to it all, that is not just these random ghostly events, that they are in fact very profound and are meant to demonstrate a more dynamic nature than what we currently believe in, or most of us, or many of us, or some of us, whatever the case is. So I think that they have a very profound esoteric meaning, rather than just these random events of spookiness. What are your thoughts?
I agree.
Okay, that's a cop-out. Come on. Come on.
Well, yeah, it is, you have to, I guess there's something to be said about an awakening moment.
Right.
And, I guess I'm waiting for mine. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'll just leave it at that. I mean, there's, I've had awakening moments before where I've realized that, not what I've always realized is not actually the way it's supposed to be. Like when I decided I was actually, well, no, I'll leave that. That's a political thing. But I wasn't one thing, but I was another, because I really had to sit down and examine my paradigm and the colored glasses I looked through. And so it was quite a wake up myself. But, Sometimes it takes an awakening. Like I said, I feel that when I was younger, I was basically shut down.
Sure. Yeah.
And so that's why I have an issue believing, some of these things. But that would be, with a family and, being ready for everything like this dad was, it would definitely, shift things a bit.
Right.
Your reality shifts. It really does.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I think. And I think that's because I don't know. I just try to believe that most everything that's presented to us is presented to us because we have something we need to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just what I've come to the conclusion on for these. And I could be absolutely wrong. I could be really, idealistically trying to apply divine meaning to,
Well, that's absolutely fine if that's the way you want to see it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. And it's certainly my prerogative to view it however I want. But I do think there's something to that. But, I guess we'll all know all these answers someday.
Someday.
So the next one is my family moved across the Pacific when I was in high school, and we weren't able to go back to visit for years. One night I dreamed about my favorite grandmother on my mom's side. She came to visit me and take me to the night market. At the night market, we met her older brother, and the two of them apparently live together now. So she introduced her older brother. Her older brother was not able to escape communist China and died before she was able to get home and visit. Her entire family died during the war. Only her and her husband survived. We walked around the night market, and she got me one of my favorite snacks, caramel-coated tomato. Oh, wow. Caramel-coated tomato on a stick.
Huh.
That sounds interesting, right?
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
And we walked around some more. Then I noticed something wasn't right. The food carts were not the normal modern-day food carts. They were ancient-looking with bamboo roofs. People were holding up candle lamps, and shops were lighted up by candle lamps, too. Then I realized the patrons were a bit weird. I was sure one guy was holding his head, and the father with his daughter sitting on his neck looked as dead as his daughter.
Oh.
Everyone looked moderately calm / happy / content, but they were so not alive. Wow. I asked my grandmother if everyone here is dead, and she said, of course they're dead. Why wouldn't they be?
Because.
Well, there you go. For some reason, I didn't question her at all, and we hung out for some more. I remember we hung out for a few more hours before she dropped me off. I can't remember where, then I woke up. 2 weeks later, my aunt called to ask my mom if my dad had told her her mother died 2 weeks ago, the exact day I dreamed of her, and if we were going back to attend the funeral. My dad didn't call. He just didn't care enough to tell us my grandmother died. My mother decided we were not going back to see her because we had school and would be unthinkable to miss school over a funeral. This was the only grandmother who recognized the abuse my parents placed on us and tried to stop it. Mom yelled at her and told her to stop meddling. Since Mom was helping with her living expenses, she couldn't do too much to help us. Before we left the country, she spent 4 hours telling me how she escaped the communists in China when she was 18 with a child. I told her I'll see her again and we'll be back to visit. She sighed and said she'll never see me again. She was right. That's really bizarre, huh?
No.
I don't know what to make of that one. That's just one of those, wow. Because clearly there's something more. It's not just a dream. It doesn't appear to be just a dream, that it was more healing. It was more of a loving visit, right?
Right, yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that's a great way to look at it. I mean, the other one is as well, my dead grandma pulled me into the land of the dead, and we walked around, eating caramelized tomatoes on a stick. I mean, which way would you rather look at it?
Yeah, I think I like my version a lot better, Don.
No, all right, have fun.
Why do you have the creepy vibe from this all?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's one of those weird things. You either got to like it or love it, or whatever. But I mean,
it's all a matter of perspective.
Yeah, I mean, being
the glass is half full.
Being pulled into the land of the dead, where the daughter on the gentleman's neck is looks as dead as he does. And,
Yeah, I don't even know what to make of that description either. It's like, what does that mean?
well, it means caramel covered tomato on a stick, which
That might be delicious though.
I wonder. You know, I can't imagine it like a big like a steak tomato or something. Probably more like the cherry tomatoes or something like that.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe something more bite size.
It could be.
I'm gonna have to try it now.
Yep. See, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. We've expanded the culinary tastes of the Longbeard.
And that just started the recipe talk.
Oh no, no recipe chat.
Pixie wants to come party with us.
You know, as fun as that might sound, I'm actually an incredibly boring person.
We barbecue, we have a drink, and watch Star Wars
or Star Trek or something out of this world. I'm always of the opinion, like when the movie Titanic came out, people said, "Are you going to go see it?" I was like, "No, I'm pretty sure I know how it ends." You know, it's like I don't really want to see people drowning in ice water. Thank you. But when I go to a movie, I want to be entertained. So right. I want it to be so far from reality that I can't even recognize it. So that's why I love the science fiction and all that. Right. And the old Dungeons and Dragons types of movies and stuff like that. It's like, I want to be entertained. I want it to take me somewhere, not show me everything that's already freaking here and sucks.
Not something you can go next door and see.
Yeah, I don't want it to be something I can just drive down any metropolitan area and watch. It's like, I want it to be an escape. I don't, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's just me, but I don't know. Just me. I'm all kinds of weird though. But yeah, I'm not a really exciting person. I'm just a very boring person. And I don't mean that in a bad way.
You're not boring. You just have a, you're not boring.
But you know me on a personal level.
That's true.
What do I do?
Well, we talk about the show a lot.
What else do I do?
You come over for barbecue every now and then.
Yeah, and that's like it. That's all I do. I mean, I'm just not. I'm very much a homebody. Yeah, I don't need to be. And it's not that there's anything wrong. I admire people that like to get out and do all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, truly, I do.
Well, you go, out in the forest and wander around the forest and
of course,
picking fiddleheads and doing all that kind of stuff. So you do, mushrooms, So
right, but that's
but that's not partying, but that's getting out. You do get out. You just
right, but what I'm saying is I'm just really a not interesting person on a very fundamental level because I just rather gel.
Pixie clarifies. She says, when I say party, I mean sit around and talk and drink and eat. That we can accommodate.
That's my kind of party right there.
That we can accommodate.
That's how I can have fun right there.
Well, and Pixie, we live in the woods, so we could actually go and sit and eat and drink in the woods. I can bring my barbecue grill too.
That's right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Just chill and chat. Yeah, Taz, that's correct. Chill and
chat. Yep. Give me a cold one and chill and chat.
And maybe a little fire too. Okay, maybe a big one, but
that's one thing about up here, and I realize this isn't paranormal in discussion, but the nights are always cool. It doesn't matter how hot the days are. The nights up in the mountains here are just always really, really cool and serene.
And they need a fire to gaze into while you chill and chat. I mean,
it's literally just it's like living in a postcard. Very serene up here. Winter sucks, but the warm months are awesome.
Looking out my window during the winter is great because you see things like, moose, up to their knees in snow and you can laugh at them because it's like, haha, it's not just me, you dirty dog. But that's about all that's great about my place in snow.
Oh, well, it's nice in the warm months.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
That's true.
That's what I live for is the heat. Living for my shorts and flip flops. All right. So continuing on, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we're gonna waiting on the groundskeepers next. Did you have a story, by the way, Don? I didn't mean to.
I'm actually looking for other. I'm looking for things paranormalish, but you've got those, and I'm looking up some other things that.
Okay.
So go ahead. I love you, Brent. Keep going.
Wow, you heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. He really loves me.
He loves me. He loves me not.
Waiting on the groundskeeper. While living in Philadelphia, a friend and I were meeting some people at an old historic house inside of Fairmount Park for some political function. We knew someone who was a groundskeeper there, and he would unlock the houses if we needed. The house itself stood atop a small hill with a winding path down to the parking lot. It was at least 300 years old, and it was dusk. The sun was starting to go down. The house was dark inside, but as we approached, we saw the curtain move aside in one of the windows. A face looked down at us, watching us approach, like a mother would watch for her kids coming home from school. We figured that people had arrived before us and were already inside. As we stepped closer, the face moved away from the window and the curtain fell back in place. We found the door locked and waited for the guy to show up with the key. We asked him if anyone could be in there, and he told us that he hadn't opened that house in weeks. My friend and I just stared at each other. Once we got inside, we found the house completely empty. That's just odd. But not uncommon. Not an uncommon theme. There again, though, there's the whole idea of this ghostly eternity looking out a window.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, something's coming. I don't know. It's just, God, I hope that, I know we're all going to find out the answers anyway, but I sure as hell hope that my eternity is not stuck by some furnace in a basement.
I'd rather have it in the window seat with a book.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
And a short memory so you could read the book
There
over
you
and
go.
over.
Yeah, and not get bored.
Not get bored by
Absolutely.
it. I get one book.
You get one book. What book is it that you read for eternity?
Yeah, I don't know. Good Lord.
Jules Verne.
Right. Kafka.
Oh, God. Waiting for Godot.
Yeah. All right. The next one is, this happened to me, so I don't tell the story very well. Or this didn't happen to me, so I don't tell the story very well, and I may have a couple of details off. But I always found this a little creepy. It's really out there, so I don't blame you if you don't believe it. I do, simply because I know the guy it happened to very well, and he's extremely skeptical. A friend of mine, Brian, used to do investigations with a couple other people. They were very skeptical and would never assume anything they couldn't explain was a ghost. They'd just say, well, there's something going on, but we can't explain, and leave it at that. They were very seldom got a case that even ended in that. A couple of friends of Brian's kept bugging him to check out their apartment because they had apparently made several contacts on a Ouija board, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh.
Here we go. The plot thickens.
So does my blood.
Yeah. And kept having weird things happen around the place, doors shutting randomly, stuff falling off of counters. Of course, Brian's first reaction was, a Ouija board? You gotta be kidding me. However, his friend was really insistent and finally he went to check it out. Brian had the guys use the Ouija board, and they contacted several different spirits, or whatever you want to call them. One of them spoke Spanish, which intrigued Brian because none of the guys spoke Spanish. The building the apartment was in used to be a hotel, and across from the apartment was a closed-off hallway where all the rooms used to be. Brian, still skeptical but curious, took the Ouija board and some equipment into the hallway. Supposedly he had several long, confusing conversations with several different entities. All of the entities expressed fear of one called CZ. And when Brian asked if when Brian asked why, they'd be very cryptic about it. Eventually, one of the entities told Brian to search room 8.
Ooh.
And when he asked what he would find, it answered CZ.
Wow. I know that's a fake story.
You do?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
because CZs are fake.
What?
Cubic zirconia. Never
Oh,
mind.
So Brian goes to search room 8, breaks down the door, and finds a whole bunch of scribbling on the wall.
Wow.
The only legible markings are making howlers and Chuck Zollner. Through a mix of Ouija board conversations and inquiries at the Historical Society, Brian discovered that Chuck had killed someone in the hotel in the late 1800s. Chuck died in another state, but supposedly hid the murder weapon in the hotel.
Oh.
As for making howlers thing, when he mentioned it to the entities, he only got fearful responses and no answers. Another entity he contacted, Beth, claimed to be 19 years old and thought it was still in the late 1800s, early 1900s. After some research, Brian discovered a girl named Elizabeth had been run over by a stagecoach in front of the old hotel. On Brian's last visit to the hotel, he could only get a hold of one entity, one he'd never had contact with, and it kept saying, "I'm trying to kill you," etc., etc. Then a really strong foul odor entered the room. The candle he had with him started burning sideways, and Brian decided it was best to leave.
Yeah, I think so.
Good call, Brian. A couple of weeks later, Brian was talking to the supposed psychic, and out of nowhere she said, "You've been getting into things lately, haven't you?
Uh-oh.
You really need to clean that stuff off of you." She told him some spirit named Elizabeth had attached itself to him.
Mm.
We tried to gain access to the hotel a couple of years ago, but Brian's friends moved out, meaning we couldn't get in the building, and the new owner didn't want us poking around. I really wish I could have checked the place out just to see what it was all about. That's an interesting story. I don't know. Again, it's the Ouija board thing. If you believe it, of course, it can be a powerful thing, but also prone to a lot of inaccuracies or
Right.
subconscious manipulation,
Right.
I guess, or very conscious manipulation, as the case may be. I had to mute while I cracked open my drink.
He's cracking open a frosty beverage of cola.
It's kind of room temperature,
Room
though.
temperature.
I was going for a more chilled variety, but it didn't work out that way. It gets warm in this room, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's me.
What the hell does that mean?
Hey, Brent, guess who's in the chat room?
I don't know. Who's in the chat room?
Doc's in the chat room.
Well, Doc, welcome, buddy.
What's up, Doc?
Good to see you. Thanks for making it.
Yeah.
Thanks for all 16 of you. I got 16. You got 16?
I have 18 and only 6 likes.
Oh, why do we only have 6 likes, ladies and gentlemen? Why are you guys not smashing the hell out of that button?
They must love us. They just don't like us.
Good to see you, Doc. It's nice you're here. I need a portal cooler. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. We need to make a wine called the Portal Port.
Oh, that wouldn't be that hard.
Apparently.
Or I could definitely make some spirits.
Ooh.
Yeah, some
nice.
portal spirits.
Nice. Very cool. But yeah, it's good to see you guys. Thanks for being here. Not beneath Don though. You guys are cracking me up. I wish I could just sit and read the chat, but then I would never get anything done, ladies and gentlemen. And you guys probably wouldn't be tuning in.
Hey, let me read this real quick.
Please.
I found this. It's called searchingforghosts.com. It says ghosts and undertakers, and this person wrote in. It says, "My house used to be an undertaker's house. Is there a chance that there might be ghosts living in my home? But my mom says to me that nothing will happen as I've lived here for 15 years, my whole life, and the undertaker would have treated the bodies with care. I need some reassurance, please." So the answer is, ghosts most often haunt places that have meaning for them. They can haunt other places, but usually have a reason to do so. Funeral homes don't really have any meaning for them. While they might have visited while their families were in mourning there, they don't usually stay afterwards, as it is their loved ones that they are drawn to, and not the bodies or their bodies or the funeral homes. Once the ceremony is over, there's very little purpose for them to stay around. We think we will have an attachment to our bodies after we die because we're so concerned with them while we're alive. You have to remember our bodies have a use. While we're alive, we need them. After we die, it's our spirit that continues. Since we don't need our bodies any longer, we aren't as concerned about them anymore, and we can leave them behind. If the undertaker didn't live in the same building as the funeral home he worked in, there's even less reason for ghosts to be in the house. They just don't have the connection to the undertaker, at least not enough of one to be around him. Your mother is also correct in assuming that the undertaker probably had the utmost respect for his clients. There were a lot of stories, including movies, about undertakers and funeral homes being haunted by or terrorized or abused by ghosts and entities. It just makes for good setting of a place for these type of stories. The truth is that rarely anything untoward going on in those places. Ghosts simply have no reason to haunt them. So that's an interesting idea. However, I don't know about that because, back in the early 18s, when they were really starting to crank up on trying to figure out, how the human body works, there were a lot of horrific things that went on in funeral homes. The ghouls the ghouls that used to steal the dead bodies and things like that. Those things actually happened. So it really makes you wonder if that might be quite true. In some cases, yes. In a lot of cases, there are probably quite a few people who abuse the bodies of dead.
Yeah, I'm sure there is, and that's certainly not a fun place to go mentally. But there are creepy people. Obviously, there's a lot of damaged people. Good Lord. Ugh. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's one definite pro to cremation.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt.
Nobody will be doing a puppet show with you later. That's just yeah. I don't know. I think the whole I don't know what it is about the whole Undertaker thing, but I always get creepy feelings.
Yeah.
When I think of Undertakers.
Yeah.
So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it's all part of the world we live in. It's all part of the world of the portal. So, with that, this one's called This House. This house is haunted AF. AF? What the hell? What does that stand for, Don? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay. I was about to.
You were.
I was going to give you that look, like what?
Don shock face.
Yeah. Did you? Huh? Let me do it one more time for all the people. Huh? There you go.
Yeah,
did you catch it that time?
I did. I made sure to turn the camera, the camera app over so I could see it. But yes, I do know what it means. It's just unfortunate some people have to go to such base references.
It catches your eye.
It does. It's all part of the
marketing.
It's all in the
marketing.
It's presentation.
Present yourself. Yeah.
I know people don't believe in spirits. I myself never did until I lived in this one house.
Mm-hmm.
What?
That's the way it always starts.
It is. It's always that story. Yeah. The same heading could be used over and over and over. It was a newer home too, so it was odd to me. Perhaps it was just energy left over from a time long ago. I don't know. But my entire family saw stuff. It first started out with noises. The first summer there, my sister and I were left alone all day while my parents worked. We were 15 and 10 at the time, and one day I heard coughing in my parents' room. Mm-hmm. My sister and I thought it was our father. We thought maybe he was homesick. So all day we kept hearing coughing, and finally about 5 hours, I decided to peek in and ask Dad if he needed medicine. There was no one in the room. We went to check out the master bedroom, and nothing. No one was there. Then a few days later, we heard the back shower open. It was one of those rolling kinds, so it made quite a bit of noise. We heard it open and close, and we sat there waiting for my mom or Dad to come out of the room. Again, nothing. They were not home. That summer, my cousin visited, and they too heard the coughing and the shower. We both lived there for 5 years, or it says we lived there for 5 years, and things got worse and worse over time. Tapping on the walls, my sister and her best friend were having a sleepover, and her friend saw something walk out of my room. She said hi to me, but it wasn't me. My cousin saw someone walk out of the bathroom into my sister's room. She thought it was me, but I was out front at the time. My aunt stayed over on a New Year's Eve once. She complained to me and my sister chewed us out for walking all over her bed and waking her up. We did not do that. My mother was walking down the hall way in the early morning. She thought my dad was behind her and asked if he wanted a full or half pot of coffee. When she got out of the hallway, she turned around to see a man in a in a plaid shirt that then ran past her. Huh. Wow, that's spooky.
Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
Plaid shirt. Sorry, butterfly collar.
My sister's friends stopped coming over because she was in my sister's room, and a Susan B. Anthony coin my grandpa had given her flew off the shelf and hit the wall, leaving a dent in the wall.
Wow.
My sister was walking out of the door at the time and thought her friend who was the one who threw it. She had been on the top bunk sitting down. Her friend got up and called her mom to leave right away and never came back over. My best friend stayed over once for a week, and she stayed in my room with her evil cat that hated me. I slept on the bottom bunk on my sister's bed. My friend asked why I kept coming into the room to bug the cat, why I kept knocking on the walls, and why I would lay on the bed only to get up and leave. I did none of this. The cat hated me and would attack me. She said the cat would flip out and hiss and meow like I was in the room.
Huh.
Then one time I got up to go pee, or no, pee, it says P1P. All right, P-E-E, in the middle of the night and in our bathroom. The way the mirror was, if you looked over your right shoulder while on the toilet, you could see into the kitchen. That's awesome. Nice design. I always did this when I left the door open. It was like 3 a.m., so the door was left open, and I looked in the mirror. I saw a man standing in the kitchen by the fridge at first. I thought it was my dad. Then he turned around like he knew I was looking, and there were no eyes, just dark patches, and he opened his mouth perhaps to say something. I don't know. I stopped mid-pee and ran back into my room, all the while keeping an eye on the guy. I never went pee at night again. I was so happy when we moved. I have no clue what that was all about, but so many people witnessed and saw things that it wasn't just my imagination. Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff. I don't know why anybody would arrange mirrors so you could see your kitchen from your toilet, but I guess it takes all types, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. Very strange.
Wow. Well, midstream though, huh?
Yeah, that's. I don't know what that's. I can't speak for the female experience, but I know for the male experience, that's nothing short of Herculean.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's nothing short of a Herculean
everything just
effort.
cinches up. You're like, it's Woody Harrelson in a butterfly, plaid butterfly collar shirt.
Yeah, I don't know. Wow. Yeah.
The paranormal potty. The portal potty.
Portal potty. Cutting it to
right.
mid-whiz is all kinds of uncomfortable. So I'm feeling it. But I don't know. Maybe it's not the same for the ladies. I don't pretend to know.
The gimp outfit.
Yeah. So.
Sorry.
All right. Not the first time, and it won't be the last.
It's definitely the beard oil. Just FYI.
What?
The chat room. Sorry.
What's the chat room saying?
Oh, the good old Pixie. She goes, Don's basement is where he keeps and apparently it's a finish the sentence kind of thing. So,
oh dear God,
beard oil,
beard oil,
and the shine. Yes, actually, Swig, you're right. D Swig's right. The shine, yeah, got some of that down there too, babe.
Nice. All right. Well, we just learned a little more about Don's basement, ladies and gentlemen. Another place I don't want to go. All right. So
I have to smudge it soon.
Yeah, you've got to do all kinds of smudging over there soon. Got all kinds of weird crap going on for a while now. But, he's still being skeptical and all. All right. When I was younger, I attended boarding school in the north of England, and the house I was assigned to was actually on the upper floors of one of the oldest buildings built in 1909 on campus. The building was actually a series of interconnected ones. At one end of the school chapel, which was connected by a long hallway with classrooms on each side to the building I was housed in. Sounds like Hogwarts. What the hell? There was a day house on the ground floor and basements with boarding house on the upper floors. The campus refectory?
Refectory, yeah.
What the hell's a refectory? Don, do you know?
It's a room.
Okay.
Let me look it up. I don't know how to,
it was also off the ground floor of this building. No, it was off the ground floor of this building. I hated the first few weeks. I was young, away from home, and friends knew almost no one. To cap it all off, I couldn't sleep on the bed, so I spent many nights just lying awake in bed after lights out. One night, in what I think was my third week there, I was lying awake in bed when I thought I heard a door creak open and close again. It wasn't the door to my dorm, but I looked over and saw a faint light under the door that slowly moved from one side to the other and heard faint footsteps. I thought it was another kid from one of the other dorms, so I got out of bed and went to go look. I didn't see anything in the hallway, but heard the stairs that led down to the refectory. Did you find it yet?
Yes, it's a noun, and it is a room used for communal meals, especially in an educational or religious institution.
Oh, okay. So that's where all the candles are floating at Hogwarts. Gotcha.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
And
okay.
the roof is, yeah.
All right. I'd hear stories of kids sneaking downstairs to grab food at night, so I followed. When I got to the bottom of the stairs, however, there was nobody there, and no one in the refectory. I'm not sure what possessed me, but instead of going back to the dorm, I went around the corner and looked down the hallway that led to the chapel, where I saw a figure at about 2/3 of the way down, so I followed and called out for them. By the time I'd caught up to them, they were ascending the stairs that led to where the chapel's organ was. And when I heard the door above me close, I thought of going there to find them, but I heard a loud banging noise in the chapel itself. The doors were unlocked, but they were heavy, and it took me a few moments to open them. The chapel was a traditional stone chapel, and it was cold at the best of times. However, when I went in, it was ice cold. I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end. I saw a faint light up where the organist would be, and this wave of terror pass over me. And I ran back to my dorm as fast as I could and remained under blankets until the housemaster practically dragged me down to breakfast the next morning. I never told anyone what happened to me that night. Fast forward a few years, and my housemaster shuffled tutors around, and when one of the teachers left. My new tutor was one of the music teachers. He'd been at the school for many years. He died a few years ago and had been teaching for over 50 years at the same school. He was the organist in the chapel, and he was a really awesome guy. He was also my music teacher for my music appreciation class for general studies, and where we'd look at different instruments and see how they worked. He owned a harpsichord, including the organ in the chapel. I don't know what that means, but okay. He told us why the paint on the barrier was slightly different shade than the rest of the paint around the organ. Originally, there was no barrier behind where the organist sat, and they were open to the congregation below. The barrier was built after one of the music students, which was regularly asked to be a page turner for the organist, was sleepwalking one night up to the organ, fell off, and broke his neck.
Oh.
If I hadn't been sitting down when he said this, I probably would have fallen down. Shortly afterwards, after one of the music classes, I asked him if the story was true. He said it was, and I told him that I thought I'd seen the ghost of the boy. My teacher said that I wasn't the first and probably won't be the last.
Wow.
Those old buildings have so much memory, right? And it could be just a residual thing. But, he never does say it interacted directly with him, but
right.
Yeah, that's too bad. Very sad.
Wow, you sleepwalking and fell out of that. Wow.
I mean, he sleptwalked all the way down there, up there, and then fell down.
Yeah.
It's like, really?
And he'd been there a million times. You would think that even unconsciously, if you were sleepwalking, you would know where you are. I mean, because there's that, you still have that connection to reality.
Yeah.
You know exactly where you're going. You've been there a million times.
You'd think so, ladies and gentlemen, but apparently I don't think it was just a simple matter of sleepwalking, personally. I'll just leave that there. I'm saying, could be some kind of light possession. Okay. A being standing over me. To start off, I was always a hardened skeptic. They always are. I grew up in a religious home, and my experience led me to reject any and all religions and spirituality around 8 or 9 years old. Wow. That's a pretty young age to decide there's nothing more. I also suffered from depression, anxiety, and hallucinations that started getting strong around 10 years old. I started seeing a therapist when I was 11. I knew I needed help before then. My mother insisted nothing was wrong. Started medication at 13. By 14, I was taking antipsychotics, but still had never received a diagnosis that me or my doctors were satisfied with. I had my major depression, GAD, OCD, all thrown in my file, but they never really covered my symptoms. At this time, I was seeing 2 psychologists, a psychiatrist, and a general practitioner, all constantly exchanging notes. I asked about schizophrenia or other kinds of psychosis, but I was told I was too lucid, and from talking to me and my family extensively, determined I showed no paranoid or delusional behavior. Basically, I had none of the unique symptoms of schizophrenia except for hallucinations, mostly audio, and I was always aware which ones weren't there, so to speak, how they didn't fit, and my awareness was so separate from them that psychosis apparently didn't make sense somehow. Now, the voice in particular is important. This one I heard the most often, the clearest, and I'd see it in my mind's eye, in my dreams. Out of the corner of my eye, it constantly told me to kill myself and convinced me life in general was not worth living. It had no triggers and was not attached to any trauma or my past. It didn't even talk about things I'd done or said. It was just there, constantly trying to convince me to kill myself. The more I explained this voice in particular to professionals, the less it made sense to them, to me, and them. I gotta switch pages. When I was in the hospital, I was frankly told no one can help you. When I became desperate that the one voice wouldn't stop, and the meds never made it easier, only harder not to listen to, it was during my hospital stay at 16 that I decided I had to live with it and deal with it like I would with anyone or anything else that made my life harder, instead of just trying to make it go away. Things got steadily better after that. I was able to deal with the anxiety and depression surrounding it and move on, got back to school, worked, ran a business during the summers. In the next couple of years, I had to stop my medications, Seroquel at the time, because the negative side effects were so bad. Through all this, my mood became more and more manageable, and the voices were always there. I just learned to deal with them better and better. I was just seeing a therapist at this point who one day handed me some information on exorcism. I was furious and stopped seeing him as promptly as I could. Not long after, it says I talking, but I was talking to a friend of my now fiance, and I heard him talk about ghosts and stuff before in passing, but one day he told me he could see a being standing over me. I asked him to describe it to me, and when he did, I just started shaking. I went to grab a sketchbook I had packed away. Keep in mind, he was never in the apartment alone long enough that it would take to find this, and showed him a drawing I had done of that one particular thing I could see and hear, and had told him about it, and when it said, what it looked like, and I even had hallucinations. He could just see it too, this thing I had spent half my life fearing, running from, ignoring, dealing with. A lot about my life changed right there.
Huh.
Yeah, so I guess it's, that's the thing, and that's what I often wonder about. How many asylums are full of people dealing with a spiritual oppression? Wow, what was that?
Hi.
No, there you go, ladies and gentlemen.
What was that?
My monitor just
Your
decided
monitor
it just
pooped.
went off and on.
Yep.
Welcome to the portal, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, yeah.
are we still live?
Yeah, we're still
Yeah,
here.
we're still live. Okay. Yeah, that's weird. Huh? There you go, Don.
Either that or they're just not paying attention.
But now I've wondered how many asylums are full of people
Right.
that are actually dealing with a spiritual oppression or obsession or possession,
Right.
and they're stuck in a hospital because our Western thinking doesn't acknowledge this kind of causative, it doesn't acknowledge spiritual oppression. It doesn't
Right.
acknowledge
Right.
possession. It doesn't
Right.
acknowledge, this kind of attachment, that there's always chemical. It's always of a physical nature or an imbalance or something. And so throw meds at it like you're dealing Pez or cards from a deck, it's like, but, there again, in the world of The Exorcist, one of the big things they have to do is screen very carefully
Right.
for psychotic episodes and depression and, more mundane causative reasoning before launching into such things as an exorcism.
Right.
So, I mean, it goes both ways. It's like, how many people have been attempted to be exorcised unsuccessfully that are actually, more of a hard case of psychotic nature, and how many people are sitting in asylums that are, that can't be medicated. They can't solve the problem with medication or modern science. So I just think about that quite a bit. I'm sure that the numbers, maybe they would be surprising. I suspect they would be, because we clearly don't have that kind of acknowledgement in our modern society for spiritual reasoning.
Right. True.
So,
True.
yeah.
But then again, we don't have the foundation say the Europeans have, or even the Chinese, or we don't have that spiritual foundation. We separated ourselves from that when our founding fathers came over.
Sure.
So
Well, there is that, but I'm just I just it's the hubris of science that it stripped away any of this old thinking because it doesn't fit their paradigm. It doesn't fit their models, because you can't treat it really in traditional medicine. And so rather than acknowledge that there's something they can't treat, they just refuse to acknowledge that problem exists at all.
Right.
Whereas we have thousands of years of history of our cultures dealing with these very spiritual attacks and helping people with them. So we've gone to such a different end of the spectrum, and now there's this. I think now is an important time, because I think there's a wave of consciousness that's starting to look holistically at it, that there are chemical imbalances, there are physical maladies, there are developmental issues, but there are also spiritual issues and maladies that take place on the esoteric level rather than a physical level.
Right.
So hopefully we'll get back to that center again. I'm hoping anyway. So
right. Yep.
Yeah, anyway. Just my 2 cents, ladies and gentlemen. It's just me jumping on the soapbox, but I think I'm right. But then again, why would I say it if I didn't?
Sure enough, yeah.
So did you have anything you needed to read, or?
Oh no, nothing I need to read. No.
Well, anything you wanted to read?
Well, I did read that one, and actually I've been, I've just kind of been looking up ghost research facts and things like that.
Okay, we'll save that for a show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think we can definitely get Dan Pruitt back on and have a discussion around that.
We have to have a discussion with him about EVPs.
We do, but I mean that would all tie into that really nicely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've talked to Dan, and he's absolutely willing to come back on.
Excellent.
So we'll have to get in touch with him to get him back on the show and be a part of it.
Be a part of it. He was awesome. That was an awesome.
Yeah, he was a great guy. And I've chatted. Actually, I was sending you some text messages about our numbers and stuff, and Dan and Don are really right next to each other. So I ended up sending all the stats, stats to Dan.
He goes, "Oh, that's for Cole."
Oh, glad to hear it.
Wow. I don't know why you're doing it, but hey, wrong guy. Sorry.
I was like, "Oh, sorry, Dan."
Now you're getting us mixed up now.
Yeah, I know, right? So. Yeah, I'm always dealing with name issues anyway. I mean, I'll know someone my whole life and suddenly just can't remember their name. It's just always been my problem. Something about names does not stick for me very well.
Well, that's okay.
I know you on a spiritual level, not a sound vibration.
No. Okay. Well,
I don't know. That's a good excuse.
I recognize that wavelength.
I know that light. I've seen it everywhere.
Oh, nice.
I wasn't trying to go creepy with that. What the hell?
I didn't take it creepily.
But you said it
now
creepily.
You're making it creepy. How do you make it? How do you make a show creepy? Well, this is the show to make.
Uncomfortable. Pulling at the collar. Like, oh, where's...
Get no respect.
Yeah, I know. Go Rodney Dangerfield up in here. All right. Wish I could make this up. I think it was about 13 or 14 and had a room in the basement. That always seems to be a problem, doesn't it?
No.
The old room in the basement thing?
No, it's not a problem.
Did you have a room in the basement?
No. I had a room in the attic.
Oh, was that a problem?
No.
Oh, okay. Just checking. I don't know.
No.
All right.
As a kid should be heard or seen, not heard.
Oh.
So I was okay. Anyhow, sorry, go ahead.
I think it was about 13 or 14. I had a room in the basement. Not super relevant, but the house was old, 1900-ish. No AC of any kind, and creepy as all get out. Had the windows open, ceiling level, inside, ground level outside, with a screen put in, bed facing the window. Is that outside?
No.
Oh, okay. Thought someone was revving an engine. I'm not sure I'm prepared for that. How can I work in these conditions? Again?
Just keep going. Warning in a dream. Forgive us.
Had a
Just
scary
forgive us.
dream that someone who was wearing a head mask
What are you doing?
preparing.
that ain't. Oh, quit.
Oh, okay.
God.
I was bracing.
Oh no.
I had a scary dream that someone who was wearing a head mask had a knife and was trying to kill me. All I remember now, and from what I journaled, is that he was chasing me in some silly zigzag pattern. Woke up abruptly to see someone looking at me through my window. Screamed my lungs out, and he vanished. Most likely ran away. Parents woke up and came down. Skeptical dad said I was probably dreaming until he noticed the window had been pried. Took the mag light and the Colt 45, not being dramatic, just reading my notes here, and went outside. Turns out there were prints or something there that had left some tools, as well as the gate door was wide open. Promptly, the police were called.
Wow.
So, there you have it.
There it went again.
There it went again. Wow.
It's a good thing we're not using that one.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. I mean, it's just a matter of the monitor being dicky or whatever, but I don't know why it's doing it. It never does that. 2 times, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're exercising some spirits around here.
Not the right kinds.
It's apparently acknowledging that, that's what it
right.
is.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for that.
I should turn my camera around so people can see it in actual, Brent vision. Oh, there it goes. You might as well just turn that stupid thing off.
I don't know. I mean, it's very strange. Why does it keep going on and off? This is the portal, ladies and gentlemen. In case you were thinking it was just a funny joke, this is the weird stuff that happens in the studio for no apparent reason. But real is life. That's it. Okay. So are we done now?
Yeah, Pixie says ask him for a cold Coke.
Yeah.
Bring me a new Coke, would you?
Suck the heat out of this, will you? Now car alarm's going off
car
outside.
alarms. That's actually the 3rd time.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. All things strange and unusual here on the portal, but that's annoying as hell, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. There's
okay. They got it off. Good. Thank goodness. All right. My family had just moved into a dormitory house, graduate school housing for families. And since we were all jet lagged after flying across the Pacific, we all went to bed early. I slept with my brother and sister in one room and my parents in the master bedroom down the hall. I woke up around 4 or 5 in the morning to the sounds of snoring from my parents' room. My siblings were sleeping soundly next to me, and I was wide awake for some reason, and swept my eyes around the room. Suddenly, there was a shape that seemed like a human male wrapped in a cloak standing next to the window. I couldn't believe my eyes, and I distinctly remember trying to make sure that it wasn't my dad. He was still snoring. The figure then turned around to face me, and I tried to look into its face, but it was just a deep black hole. And I wasn't exactly scared, just weirded out. Thankfully, the figure disappeared as sunlight came in. Wow. Sounds like a one-off kind of thing. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole story.
And wandering ghosts. They just happened by and wanted a sandwich.
Yeah.
With a gaping black hole in his face. But, whatever. Where are you going to put that sandwich? I'm just going to put it right down the gullet.
Just all formalities.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Just say hi and let it go.
I didn't have time to put on my face.
Oh,
thank you. It's my mom's line.
Yeah.
She always had to put on her face. It's like, what's that thing you're talking out of now? So, anyway, it was funny in my head, ladies and gentlemen. So,
thank you.
Thank you very much. Father makes a request. When I was young, very young, we lived in a house that had the usual ghost activity, hearing footsteps, hushed voices in the next room, etc. But the really cool thing was the basement door. It would open on its own. I'm not talking about an inch or two when you closed another door nearby. I mean, it would swing fully open like someone was walking through it. My parents tried locking the door, and it would still swing open on its own. By the time I was learning to walk, my dad was concerned I would fall down the steps, so he went down into the basement and just said to no one in particular that He had a young daughter upstairs, and could they please be careful with the door? Ever since then, the basement door would open and then slowly shut on its own.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Not slam, huh?
Yeah, but I mean, it's just, I'm here. Okay, and you got a little expectation. We can work with that. So it was just wanting acknowledgement kind of thing.
I'll slowly close the door so we don't wake up the daughter. Yeah.
Why is your mic dead?
What? My mic's dead?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Seriously, you got nothing.
Hello?
Here come.
Oh, see, another. God dang it. I didn't do anything, I swear. I swear I didn't do anything.
Oh, my goodness, ladies and gentlemen.
I didn't do it.
Don's mic is now dead.
Okay, let me turn it off and try something here.
Ooh, that was a pop.
Let's try this.
Did you unplug it? Is that what you did?
Yeah. Because that's what. Check.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. Wow. Not my fault. I didn't even touch the stupid thing.
All right, I'm just getting my hand full of crystals here. All right, Don, I'm going to give you hematite.
Grounding. I need grounding.
We need you to just ground out for a while here.
Okay, well, I'll just keep this right here. I'm going to put it in the little cup of my hat right there.
Okay.
Don't let me forget it's there.
No, I certainly won't.
Elvis is not in the building, Ramon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, this is the show, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
This is the weird stuff that happens on the portal.
And if you've never seen it, this is true. It happens.
I mean,
Ask
honest
Pix
to God,
and Doc.
It's honest to God,
Lewis
the
knows.
truth. We don't know why. I don't know why. I have no idea why. I mean, everything's connected. It's been working for weeks, months, and then suddenly we'll get this one night where things will just get squirrely and weird. It's Krampus.
It's Krampus. It's not Christmas time, Doc.
Yeah, it's weird. It's whatever it is. Yeah, it seems to be there, amping up. Lewis, you're right. Not sure what's going on right now that would amp it up. I don't know. Just a very strange night.
Well, even Lewis said, talking about ghosts and ghost stories like this will, open that up, and
it's true.
It could be, yeah.
And I recognize that even since starting the show, was like I knew that there was a possibility to attract some kind of activity, but and again, I don't have a creepy bad feeling. It's not right now sitting here with all this weird stuff happening. I don't feel weirded out. Do you, Don?
No, I'm fine.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not necessarily a real negative presence. It's
it's mischievous.
It's just like what Deb was saying, right?
They didn't know what Deb said because
No,
I
I'm
was
just-
off the air. But
I'm
yeah,
telling you.
that's
Yeah.
and then she said something was possibly going to happen, in the next 2 weeks or so, and so
So there you have it, ladies and
I
gentlemen.
better
This
get
is
my white sage out.
well. I mean, I don't feel like it is. D.
No,
And D is asking, "Are you sure it's not evil?" And
No.
or is that sure it's not evil? I don't know whether that's a question or a statement. But I don't have any, like, I've been around truly evil.
Right.
I've been around really, really dark things before, and I know how that feels. And it's, you can feel it like a stain on your soul when you're around
Right.
something that's truly dark. You feel like you want to hose off in holy water. It just feels horrible. But honest to God, I don't have that feeling here at all. I don't feel uncomfortable. I don't feel much of anything as far as foreboding.
Right.
But you just feel like, you're maybe not alone and someone's just kind of hanging out. And that's fine. I've never had a problem with that kind of activity ever in my life. I've lived in many haunted houses, and I've never had the issue where it's like, you need to be out of here because I'm not ready to handle this. It's like, I don't care if you're here.
Yeah.
Just be respectful. Just be, I put a lot of expectation on that.
Right.
It's like, if you're going to be here, you're going to be loving presence. It's going to be beneficial. This kind of stuff is as bizarre as it is, doesn't freak me out. I just think that it's perhaps looking for acknowledgement.
Well,
Perhaps
just like that story you just read about that may have been it. Maybe
Yeah.
he was gently just shutting the door and letting us know.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna mess with Don. I'm gonna shut his mic off. Ho, ho, ho.
Well, yeah.
My name's Brent. Ho ho ho.
Yeah, exactly, Lewis. It's like, just pay attention. Like somebody
Yeah.
wants to be acknowledged. Yeah, okay. So Dee's saying no, it's not evil. Thank
No,
you. I
no,
appreciate
yeah,
that. I don't feel like it is either. It's just
Maybe
yeah.
it took offense to my Coke comment that I read that I read out of the chat room. It wasn't me.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. So No, it's just the weirdness, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know how to explain it. It could, honest to God, it could be some kind of weird technical thing. I'm not claiming that it has to be paranormal,
Right.
but it's just suspect. It's suspect enough that why now? What's going on? It's only one monitor. It's only one microphone. It's just these isolated little incidents that don't seem to have any common pattern other than, that they're closest to Don, maybe. The monitor closest to Don and his microphone.
But why isn't it screwing with my computer, my camera, or?
Well, exactly. Don't put that out there because now,
Oh, Jesus. You should have said that before I said that.
Don't invite more problems, of course. But yeah, it's just very strange. There is no Windows open at all. Nope. It's Windows computer. Yeah, that could be that. You're right, brother. It could.
It's Windows. Oh, that. Yeah.
Yeah, that will definitely cause all kinds of paranormal crap to happen. But I worked IT for years, and I don't have any kind of driver issues or anything. There's nothing that should be firing that off. And the sound, the mic is going into a mixing board. So it's not going directly into the computer. We run it through a mixer. And so
exactly, yeah.
If it was a Windows problem, it would affect both mics, which come from the mixer board into the computer. So I don't know. Very strange. But there you have it. Just another day in the portal, ladies and gentlemen. So we got some more stories here. So let's get her done.
Get her done.
I'm going to get through this. We got a lot to go to.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Father makes a request. Sorry, I'm a little stuffy. When I was very young, we lived in a house that had the usual ghost activity, hearing footsteps, hushed voices in the next room, etc. But the really cool thing was the basement door. What? Didn't I just do this? Yeah. No, I just read that one. Next story. I'm sorry. I forgot to flip the page. That's what happens when monitors flicker and microphones go in and out. Yeah. So, all right. The next story. When I was about 12 and started getting left alone at home, something used to shush me. I'd be pouring cereal, singing along to the TV, and suddenly, shh. First time it happened, I absolutely crapped myself, and I didn't say a word until someone came home. I didn't tell anyone because I didn't think anyone would believe me. I'd even start to convince myself it was just my imagination, but then it would happen again. I think it happened about 5 or 6 times. One Saturday morning, I was in my top bunk, and the beds were super noisy. I think we've read this one before, but it's just a repeat from another source. But the beds were super noisy, and the slightest moves would result in them creaking. Shh. I thought it was my younger sister and decided to annoy her further. I started rocking in my bunk, making as much noise as I possibly could, and suddenly, shh, much louder. I chuckled, still thinking it was my sister, and then she whispered nervously from below, "Was that you? That shushing, was that you?"
Uh-oh.
I popped my head down and said, "No, it was you." She looked terrified. Her eyes welled up with tears, and she said, "No, it wasn't." And she ran out of the room crying and wouldn't come back in for a long time. I realized it must have been the shushy ghost and was overcome with relief that I wasn't crazy because someone else had bloody heard it. I haven't heard it since. I'm always kind of waiting. The shushy ghost.
Nice.
Yeah, you know what to say, misery loves company.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. All right. Oh, a terrifying phone call. My grandmother died of brain cancer about 20 years ago. About 2 weeks after she died, I was hanging out over at my parents' place, and my mom got a call. No number, no unknown number, just blank caller ID. She answered it, got quiet, hung up. She went to her room without saying anything. When I was finally able to get her to talk about it, she said it was her mother, saying she was trapped, and please come get her because they wouldn't let her leave.
Wow.
Over and over again. Oh, that's horrible.
God.
And then the phone disconnected. I asked her about it a few years ago, and she denied that it happened for a bit, then admitted that it happened 2 more times that year.
Oh, my.
And then stopped, but she didn't want to discuss it anymore.
Yeah.
That would be horrible. I would definitely be talking to a psychic at that point.
Yeah. So it happened 3 times in a year?
Yeah, 3 times in a year.
Wow.
That would be horrendously horrible to get a call. And that's got to be something dark, just screwing
Messing
around.
with people,
Yeah, totally breaking somebody's spirit, thinking that their loved one is trapped.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, that would be something dark, yeah. Yeah, that'd be...
It's got to be. I mean, I can't believe that that's reality, that, these spirits are absolutely twisted and confused, but maybe it is. I don't know. I would definitely be talking to a psychic that could help transition people, like Deb or Dee or Ian, whoever.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one beautiful thing about doing the show is I've made these great connections with people that can help.
It's networking.
And yeah, exactly. So it's really been wonderful that these people have not only been a part of the show in some way or another as callers or as guests,
but they've value.
They've brought value.
Yeah.
It's like they've extended themselves, saying, "Look, I want to help. If somebody needs help, let me know." So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are dealing with anything dark and horrible and need some help, please let me know. Again, it's paranormalportalradio@gmail.com, and I'll certainly get you in touch with one of these individuals that can help you. And, just want to be there because you're not alone. I know a lot of people in these kind of situations feel absolutely isolated and scared and alone, and they don't know who to talk to.
Right.
So, let me know. I'll definitely do everything I can. I'll bend over backwards to make sure you're okay. So, the children in pajamas.
Ooh.
A few years ago, my sister was married to a soldier in the British Army, and he was stationed in Germany. We all visited her, and she knew I was interested in history, so for a day out, we visited the Belsenbergen, the former Nazi concentration camp. As we were walking around, my sister was pushing the pram with my nephew in it, and he was 1 or 2 years old at the time. The thing about Belsenbergen is that after the way, it was burnt to the ground. I think it's after the war it was burnt to the ground. So it's more or less blank fields. Oh, I should do this, by the way. And as we walked, we passed a tree when my nephew asked my sister who the kids were behind us. We all turned around and there wasn't anyone there. My sister asked which kids, and he replied, the ones in the pajamas. Yet again, no kids were anywhere to be seen. We all knew for a fact that he has no idea what country he was in, let alone knew about the horrible events which occurred at the camp. Aw.
Wow.
It's tough to think that again, I would really pray that those are residual.
Yeah.
That they're not, really stuck children.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not a big believer in child ghosts, but apparently there are many who are, and I'm not saying I can't be wrong, but if there's anything good and just in this universe, anything at all, then it will make sure the children get home, not leaving them stuck somewhere. Because they are beautiful and pure and are not corrupt in any way. So, just my 2 cents, but next one is homesickness. 2 years ago, I woke up around 1 a.m. thinking I can never go home again. This one sounds familiar too. But I'll read it anyway, ladies and gentlemen, because it's just all in the spirit of continuity.
Spirit of continuity.
It was the most intense sense of homesickness I've ever experienced, full of panic and regret. I tried to calm myself down. Logically, of course, I could. My parents lived just a couple hours away, still in my childhood home. I'd fought hard to get away from that suburb I grew up in. So why this sudden intense longing? The next day, I got a call that my dad had been hospitalized during the night and was in the ICU. He didn't make it out. And while the house is still there, it's not home anymore.
Yeah.
That's sad. Who's staying in your room is next. When I was in high school, the days before cell phones were common, many friends were able to come over and pick me up from my house. My friends were to come over and pick me up from my house one night. We had made plans at school for them to pick me up at 7 p.m. At 6, my parents said I had to come with them to do something, and I totally forgot to call my friends and tell them. This one sounds familiar too. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, if these are repeats, but I'll just continue. They came to my house at 7 p.m. and called the house phone. No one answered. There was 4 of them in the car, and they all told us the exact same story. They said that they were about to pull out of my driveway, but they saw someone peek through the blinds from the bedroom at the top floor right. That was my room, so they assumed I was around. 5 more times they said that someone would peek through the blinds, and a couple of them said they even saw the person's eyes. We got home probably 7:10 or 7:15, and they were still in our driveway. One of my friends came over and said they thought I was messing around with them, and they asked me, so who's staying in your room? I told them that no one was staying in my room. So they asked, who's home at your house right now? Again, I told them no one, and the stone-cold faces then told me what they had seen repeatedly over the last 15 minutes. At first, we all thought there was a burglar in the house or something, so we called the cops. They came over to inspect the house. There were 0 signs of break-ins. Nothing was touched. Nothing was stolen. Our home had an alarm on it, so there's no way someone could have come into the house without setting off the alarm. My family, my friends, and the cop all kind of stood around for a few minutes trying to make sense of the situation. My friends swore up and down, and still do, that they couldn't have imagined what they saw. All 4 of them saw the same things. And it wasn't particularly a dark night, so their eyes wouldn't have been playing tricks on them. To this day, none of us can make sense of this situation. Very creepy. So, I don't know.
Well, that's like that story where they called the cops. The cops came in, they went through the house, and then they didn't find anything, and then they're standing out in the like out on the porch and talking to the cops, and then something happened, and the cops kind of noped on out of there. Is that, if I remember correctly? Maybe that was it.
That sounds familiar. Yeah,
there was. Yeah,
that does sound kind of familiar. I don't know. I it's funny because we must have gone over hundreds and hundreds of stories since doing the show, but it's funny the amount of recall you get for individual stories. When you start reading them, it's like, oh yeah, I kind of remember what you're talking about. And
yeah,
when you think about the scope of what we've covered on this show,
yeah, there's been a lot.
It doesn't seem like it'd be possible.
And that's only been guess what's coming up? Yeah, guess what's coming up? My 1-year anniversary on the show.
When is that?
April 1st.
April Fool's Day.
Yeah. I told you I thought you were joking when you invited me over to be on the show on April 1st, right?
Oh, God.
I thought it was an April Fool's joke. I was like, he's not being serious, is he? So I came over. Sure enough, he's like, no, here, sit down. We'll pass the mic. All right, cool.
Yeah, we had one microphone at the time. I remember that. Yeah, we were completely ghetto back then, ladies and gentlemen. But
we still are ghetto, but
well, it's just
we're just getting a little more technically advanced.
It's a little nicer ghetto than what we had
That's
before.
That's true. It's not as intimate, shall we say?
Well, yeah. I mean, we're basically at a love seat that we're just dealing with. You're done. Your turn to talk.
Here, squeak. Just kind of like this.
Yeah, there was a squeaky mic stand. It doesn't really make the noise anymore.
No, not anymore.
But it did. I think I've since got the squeaks out of it. But yeah, I was like.
But no, I thought that was. I thought that was. I thought it was a joke at first. And, I mean, we had talked. We had great talks, and we connected really well. Obviously, we do. But I wasn't quite sure. I was like, oh.
Wow.
And I remember I walked up to you. I said, I heard you got a show about Bigfoot. You do a radio show about Bigfoot. And you go, yeah. And then just boom, you just went off. You're like, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So here I am.
So here he is. And that was
April 1st. Yeah.
Yeah, it was April 1st. Wow. What about that? No, I would be a complete dick to do that to you. Hey, come on over and wait. Nah, just kidding. Stay in your car. Screw you.
I don't know. You get out of here, kid. I'm going to call the cops, and they'll nope on out of here too.
What are you doing, stalker?
What are you doing? You're weird. So that's April 1st is a Sunday this year. So
we'll be broadcasting the night before.
Yeah.
When we get done, it'll be your anniversary on the show.
Paranormal Lives Matter.
Oh my God, that's got to be a T-shirt. Who came up with that?
That was D.
D
Swig.
Awesome.
Yep. Paranormal Lives Matter. It's pound Paranormal Lives. Or sorry, hashtag.
Yeah.
Hashtag Paranormal Lives Matter.
Oh, that's awesome. Paranormal Lives Matter.
We'll have to. Yeah, that'll be. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Very cool.
That's the new hashtag, everybody.
April Fool's Day is also Easter this year. Wow.
Is it really? Or is Pixie just being that way?
Or is that the April Fool?
It'd be a fool to really.
So the gig is then you go out for all the kids. You go out and just hide empty eggs out there. You just put these empty plastic eggs out.
Not even get the colored ones. Just get clear ones so they see before they pick it up. They're like, "There's nothing in that." You dirty bitches.
Or put out real uncooked eggs.
Uncooked eggs. Crack it on your head.
You gotta open it and get the prize. And after the food poisoning, it'll be hilarious.
Oh boy. Oh no.
Oh my God.
No, that's funny.
Only on the portal, ladies and gentlemen. We are twisted bastards, but we have fun. How to make April Fools and Easter work.
Wow.
That's awesome. Or just hang out a dead rabbit. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh no. Oh no.
Put a bow tie on a rabbit. A little basket dangling.
Paint your door
No,
with
I'm
a
just
little,
kidding.
water-based paint.
I'm just, that's really dark and sick. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
D. Swinger says, exactly.
Oh, no. It's a sweet holiday for the
Oh.
kids. I'm only kidding.
We
of
are a
course.
loving, caring show. After,
Yeah.
especially if you have any problems, get a hold of us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then we go into how to torment kids on Easter. I'm just trying to respect both holidays, ladies and
Yeah,
gentlemen. I think
gotcha.
it's important to observe not only one of them.
Horrible raw-colored eggs. Oh, regular. That's regular said that. Raw-colored eggs.
With just Sharpies.
Don't open.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Bring these home to your mom and kids. Oh, dear God. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Never a dull moment here on the portal. I'll tell you that. We can corrupt the hell out of just about anything given enough time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's no wonder you guys tune in for this mayhem.
The mayhem, the hijinks. Oh, no.
A few years ago, I was driving home towards Chelmsford, England / Essex. In the middle of winter, probably around midnight, my girlfriend is in the passenger seat. There is no moon and the road is unlit and empty, and I am enjoying the drive. I'm pretty much flat out on a long right-hander coming out of a roundabout when I notice there is a girl in the middle of the carriageway. She is tall, skinny, and dressed head to toe in black with long billowing skirt. She has long black hair and is facing away from me with her arms by her side. Wow, that's got to be an ominous sight. Like I said, I'm pretty much flat out. I don't know what I guess. Does that mean going fast?
I think so.
Okay. So it happens quickly. I swerve into the opposite lane, just missing her, and hit the brakes. In my rear view mirror, she is momentarily lit up with my brake lights and is again facing away from me, but still in the same spot with no sign of movement. I am spooked and instinctively get off the brakes and back on the gas. I can see her silhouette recede in the mirror. My girlfriend didn't see a thing, but is startled awake when I swerve. I circle around the next roundabout to come back to prove I'm not crazy, and there is no sign of her. There is no path near that part of the road. It is on a slightly raised embankment through farmland. No reason for anybody to be there, especially at that time of night. Nowhere to hide when I came back around. Wow, that is wild. I'm not religious or superstitious in the slightest, and I think it's pretty easy to explain away. Probably just a drunk girl or something, but it just didn't feel right. It creeped me out enough to consider it a potential paranormal experience. I had a pretty vivid night terror about the same girl sometime later.
Wow.
I woke up and she was tapping on the window, ground floor flat, and then she was in the room but had no face.
Wow.
Weird.
Nope. Yeah, that's a nope.
That's
I'm out of here.
Nope. Grandma's diary. After my grandmother died, I had a dream she turned up and started screaming at everybody to leave her stuff alone. I had never seen her this angry in real life. Man, she was pissed. Anyway, the main thing she was angry about was her private diary, and nobody had the right to read it. In the dream, I explained to her that she was dead, but she was like, it doesn't matter. My things are still my things. I told my mother about the dream, and she got upset. Turns out she had found Grandma's diary and started reading it.
Oh.
Most supernatural experience I've ever had.
Well, that's what you get.
That is what you get, yeah. Keep your damn nose out of my book.
Yeah, no doubt. That wasn't meant for you when I was alive, and it's not meant for you now that I'm gone. Especially you little lady.
Yeah, she must have been pissed to come all the way back from the afterlife to do some chewing some tail there. That's me chewing the tail.
There you go.
Biting the mic, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, my eyes have got like a skin on them. I'm a little sleepy today.
Oh.
I got my first Rider Waite deck when I was 16. This is about tarot. At a hippie California Wicca shop. I was agnostic, having left the church that year and didn't believe in tarot overall. Still don't really. I wanted to learn it. Oh, yes. And I got quite good at it because dun, dun, dun. That's actually spelled out. Dun, dun, dun. It was a hell of a gimmick to get girls to talk to me. And it worked. I was a goth kid, long black hair, kind of skinny, and I wore black a lot. With that deck, I went from the weirdo junior at the high school who listens to devil music to that weird guy Buffy prep girl that weird guy Buffy prep girl wants to see about banging because she hates her parents. I don't understand that line. Anyway, he just got popular. That's what I guess he's going for.
Really popular.
A little bit of a hyperbole there, but not much. The deck got me dates at least 4 times outright because it was just a great icebreaker with girls who were way outside and above my high school strata. After a couple weeks, the rumor was that I was an honest-to-God psychic. Was I? Hell no. But I could read like a son of a gun. I'm going to say gun there. And memorizing what the cards meant helped my spiel sound really legit. I always did a Celtic cross. I could do things on the fly. Say the second card came down 5 of cups while I'm reading for some cute thing from my bio class. Are you and your family making any plans of traveling this summer? If she said yes, she'd also babble a bunch of details, and I would nod sage as hell, and I'd ask her if she had misgivings about it, since, let's be honest, teenagers have misgivings about everything. If she said no, I'd replied with, I didn't think so, and explain that the card showing her yearning to travel even though she couldn't, which was, again, a no-brainer because it was a small, boring town. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In my senior year, I'd filled out a bit and gained a hell of a lot of confidence, so I stopped doing the tarot thing as much. Frankly, I didn't need to anymore, but if someone really asked me, pretty please, I'd do it. Spending the night at my best friend's house while his parents were away, we decided to have his girlfriend and a couple other girls we knew come over. Time to raid his parents' bar and water the bottles so they wouldn't notice. And we were having a grand old time when my bro, who we'll call Paul, asked me if I had any magical cards, had my magical cards. What? Oh, I just happened to. Giggity. He says giggity. The girls all made appropriate ooh and oh wow noises, so I decided to do a spread for Paul first. He asked what his future would be. Big bad stuff. Horrible. 3 of Swords crossed by the Tower. Lovers reversed above. Wheel of Fortune reversed below. Crowned by Death. The World reversed for the future card. I stopped my litany of BS and pulled out the next card, 10 of Swords, and put it back into the middle of the deck, collected the cards and said, you know what? I don't want to do this. It's BS. And then I said something about the energy being off, wank, wank, and it didn't take much for the girls to convince us to play Truth or Dare or drink way too much peach schnapps. That was the night Paul decided to go bear and knocked up his girlfriend. Oh, jeez. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I don't write these things, but being only 18, they had a pretty dramatic breakup because he wanted to cancel the pregnancy and she wanted to keep it, and she did. Paul became suicidally depressed because he still loved his girlfriend, and she wanted to have nothing to do with him anymore. A month after the kid was born, she fell asleep with the baby on her bed. The kid rolled over and got stuck between the box spring and the wall.
Jesus.
It suffocated while she napped. Oh, dear God. Oh, what a horrible thing. Paul went completely crazy, tried to hang himself, and got committed. Coincidence? Probably. But he had asked me months after I did it why I'd stopped reading the tarot. And I'd been drunk enough to spill that it was strife, loss, heartache, and death. He never forgave me.
Yeah, no doubt.
Wow. That's horrible. Oh, dear God. I can't imagine the pain. Oh, dear God. I can only send all my love to those people going through such things.
That's messed up. That's messed up. As soon as you started talking about, you brought, they laid down for a nap, I knew what was coming.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it. I'm like, oh, that's not going to be good.
Yeah. Oh, dear. In 2000, my wife and I had just purchased a large old Victorian-style home to have room for our 3 kids, ages 2, 5, and 7. Early one beautiful spring morning with the sun shining bright, half asleep, I opened my eyes to see a woman in early 1900s yellow dress with little flowers smiling down at me. She said, "Don't worry, the children will be safe here." Still mostly asleep, I thought, okay, good, and dozed off again for a few seconds. Then the realization hit me of what I just saw, and I sat straight up in a bed fully awake. The woman in the yellow wasn't there, of course, but that's not the creepy part. Got to turn the page to get the creepy part, ladies and gentlemen. Fast forward to next spring, I was teaching at the local middle school, and it was in the break room with a number of people, all of them filtered out except for one older lady who was a teacher's aide at the school. She'd been close friends with the previous owners of the house, another family with young kids who had moved away for job opportunities. She asked me how I liked the house, and I said it was great to have room for the kids. Then she looked around to make sure we were alone and asked, "Have you seen the woman in yellow yet?" I nearly pooped my pants on the spot, and by the look on her face, she knew it. And I told her my story, and she said one of the little girls who had lived there before talked about the yellow lady keeping her from getting hurt.
Well, see, now that's what the last story needed.
Yeah, it really did. Yeah. Wow. Well, at least that's a benevolent haunting, though. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I would just love that kind of presence for everybody to have one of those, you know.
Yep.
Kind of like a little personal guardian angel.
There you go. A guardian ghosty.
Yeah, guardian spirit.
Quite literally.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. God.
Yeah, that other one just aches in my gut.
That one.
It just hurts to hear things like that. Ugh. Creepiest thing I ever experienced was when I saw a ghost. I put it in quotations because there very well could be a rational explanation for what I thought I experienced, but nevertheless, it still felt really creepy. About 2 years ago, my friends and I visited Letchworth Village in Rockland County, New York. It was a psychiatric hospital for the mentally and physically disabled, opened in 1911, and was the site of the first polio vaccine trials in the United States. Letchworth was finally shut down in the 90s because of the rampant abuse and mistreatment of the live-in patients there, but many of the hospital's abandoned buildings are still standing on the campus, and most are decayed enough or already broken into to be able to easily climb in. Sorry. The final building we explored was once the main hospital, I believe. My friend mentioned that this place was apparently featured on some ghost hunters type show as one of the most haunted places in America, or something, or so. We were pretty excited when we saw someone had graffitied on the wall, "The ghosts are here." The first room had rusted metal bars suspended by wires hanging from the ceiling. This in and of itself was not out of the ordinary, but as we entered, a gust of wind shook the bars, which began to swing and clank eerily against each other. Needless to say, it was a nice, spooky entrance. Wow.
No doubt.
There's a picture here.
That's a great picture.
Yeah, it is.
Too bad we can't post it anywhere.
Well, we actually can.
Oh, you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
We got the
Good
abilities.
thought.
We got the abilities, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on. I'm about to get it all positioned, but I got to read it over on the other side there. Don't I? Oh, and you know what? Oh, there it is.
There it is.
There it is. Okay. All right, hold on. Dang it.
That is a great picture.
That is a great picture. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. That's the picture. All right. I got to get it back over here so I can read it. Just a little. Oh, where the hell did that go? Okay. Once exiting the tetanus trap, we entered a long hallway with big staircase leading to the basement and the second floor, ignoring every single horror film-infused instinct to not go down the flight of foreboding stairs into what could very well be the gates of hell. We climbed down the basement, which was, of course, extremely dark, save for the welcoming burst of light streaming in from a broken window near the stairs. With our flashlights on, we made our way slowly through the basement hall, and at about halfway, we found an old morgue.
Ooh.
One of my photographer friends set up his tripod and began taking a long exposure of the morgue as the rest of us waited and jokingly tried to convince him to climb inside of it. Jeez. As this was taking place, I happened to look back down the hall from where we came. I couldn't make out any details of the hallway except for a beam of light at the other end. It looked like as if there was something partially blocking the beam of light coming in from the broken window. Kind of like a shadow, but more like a silhouette, where a person's upper torso and head would have been illuminated by the light instead of just darkness. However, the second I noticed it freaking moved, and the beam of light was undisturbed once again. Right around that time, my fight or flight instinct kicked in, and my bowels went a little loose
Oh,
as the sound of footsteps came clearly from behind the doors of the unexplored room ahead of us. I can't remember if I screamed or if I cried, probably a little of both, but we left pretty quickly after that.
that was a code brown.
Yeah,
Wow.
no kidding.
Wow. I just thought you could duplicate, if you want to put pictures on, you could duplicate that page, slide that window over.
Yeah,
and
that
leave
was
there.
it though. There's
Yeah, but yeah,
in the future, yeah, I would.
and switch us back to a dual view, not triple view.
Oh, you don't want to see that nice logo?
Well, I'm waiting for it to. I'm waiting for the monitor to go off again, and it'll show it on
Oh
the
yeah,
screen.
we'll just leave it up.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe it'll
Brown trout. Yeah,
dork out for us,
Yeah, that'd be kind of funny.
as if on command. If the monitor blinks out, then we'll know. When I was 9, my sister was hit and killed by a car. Oh dear God! This happened right up the road from where we lived, 2 houses up, to be exact. About a year after her death, I was walking across the street, 2 houses up, when I heard my name yelled, very loudly. I stopped and looked behind me. No one was there. When I turned around, there was a car in front of me. It was passing me, and the woman driving clearly did not see me. She was looking at the radio. She just drove past me, and I finished crossing the street. There was absolutely no doubt in my mind that if I hadn't stopped, I would have been hit by her.
Yeah.
I looked and never saw anyone outside or at the window. Never figured out who it was that yelled my name.
Yeah, that's one of those things. It's that being, what is it, precognizant? Is that what it is?
Precognition, seeing
Yeah.
something coming?
Well, maybe not seeing so well. Okay, so, well, I don't know, but having that feeling that you should stop and look around.
Right.
But of course, that's where I just start screaming at the lady. Hey,
Yeah, I know.
you're so and so.
Yeah.
I do too. I scream at people.
Do you?
So yeah, if you're ever in downtown Sandpoint, some guy's probably screaming at you because you just practically ran him over. It's probably me.
Some bearded lunatic is
Yeah,
throwing
that's why I
produce
don't go-
at you.
I don't go to town. That's why I don't go to town. I stay out of it.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, it's fine.
It's good. It's all good.
When my daughter was around a year and a half, almost 2, my sister-in-law was pregnant. One night, my husband and I were going through the bedtime routine with our daughter, singing silly songs, reading books, etc., when out of the blue, she looks up toward the ceiling and says, "Hi, baby," and
Oh.
starts waving. She giggles a little, then waves again, this time saying, "Bye-bye, baby," and then goes back to whatever she was doing like nothing happened. The next morning, my sister calls asking if we can take her to the ER because, she had a miscarriage. Ooh. Coincidence?
Wow.
I don't know.
Quit with these kid stories. As a matter of fact, you're almost done, aren't you?
Yeah, we just got
Yeah.
2 more.
Gosh.
A creature climbing the wall. Wasn't going to post about this because it makes it that much more real, but it's probably for the best instead of trying to deny it. When I was a young child, me and my family moved around a lot, Coast Guard. We always drove, so we stayed in a lot of hotels. Practically every time I stayed in a hotel after my family had fallen asleep, I would see a creature moving back and forth between the walls and the ceiling. Creature looked a lot like a spider monkey, because its tail curled around its body. It moved back and forth, not smoothly, but in small jolts, almost like what you see while using a flip book. I was a bit intimidated by it, but I was never stricken with fear. I saw it from as young as I can remember until about the age of 8, and after that it just stopped. My rational adult mind tells me that it's my imagination as a child ran wild. I tell myself that I expected to see a creature, and that's what I did. So often in the back of my head, I know what I saw. But I would also wonder if that could be a case of seeing a protective animal spirit. There's the idea, and I don't know the background of this person, but
Right.
its cultural beliefs, of course, state that we all have animal spirits, or
Well, and it's always the same thing, and it's only when they were in the motels, right?
as far as
Instead of as
from
far
the
as
narrative,
the story
yeah.
goes, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of interesting. At least, yeah, it may have been.
Yeah, it's kind of
Interesting.
it's a different take on it anyway. I don't know. Worth a shot anyway. A woman in a white dress. He is afraid of her. So I grew up in a 2-family house for the first 10 years of my life. My best friend lived upstairs, and after my family had sold our part of the house to another family and moved, I'd often visit him. One time when visiting, I saw the woman who bought our part of the house and currently lived there at the time. We make small talk, and then she asks me if I remember seeing a woman in my room. I tell her no, and she tells me that my parents told her about me complaining about a woman in a white dress by my bed when I was a kid. According to her, my parents mentioned it when selling the house. She also tells me that her son is now seeing the woman and that he is afraid of her. I disregard it and sleep uneasily that night. The next morning I ask my parents about it, and they completely ignore it. They don't say it's true or untrue. They just say nothing. I'm not sure to this day what happened for sure, but I hope that lady that lived in my old house then was joking. I don't know. Darn kids. Those darn kids seeing everything. But I think we made a good run.
Aye, we did.
We had a fine run tonight, ladies and gentlemen, outside of the periodic paranormal happenings. Yeah. And looks like everything's stabilized. I mean, everything looks like it's good. Still working, so that's good. I don't know. Knock on wood.
Just waiting for something to
just knocking on wood here. You know? Yeah. Just looking around, making sure. I think everything's fine, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep, everything looks good. I like the candles behind me are a lot better.
They're a lot more subtle, rather than having those torches of hell burning behind you in glorious flames.
Yes, yes.
I don't know. They didn't look so bad on my camera,
right.
But on your camera, they were just like.
See now you've got in your camera just right there on the left. Now you got that nice subdued light,
right,
instead of that raging inferno.
Exactly, but it was so bright that Don had these light artifacts in his face.
I did. Someone told me last week, hey, you got these white spots on your face. I'm like, yeah, it's the reflection of the cameras or the candles behind me. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Lady Death. Lady Death says, nice shows. These are always my fave.
Yep.
Well, you're our faves, too. All of you guys that are in there, thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We always enjoy bringing it to you, and I know it's tough to follow those epic shows that we've had lately, but I do love these shows personally because, and don't get me wrong, I've loved every guest we've had. It's been amazing, but this is how it all started. Yeah. This is how the portal started, with me talking about things and, just going out on a limb with some ideas and theories and,
I thought the portal started with you speed reading absolutely everything for 2 hours.
That was my premiere episode. I read 2.5 hours of material that I was hoping would last 2 hours. I burned it up in 20 minutes and right. Cotton-mouthed and stressed beyond belief. But
yeah, no doubt.
it was just like, yeah, this would be cool doing the show. This would be cool doing the show. And then the theme music came in. I was like, just totally.
What?
And I started reading, and I read at the full stress, and I burned through my material. I had when I started, it was 2-hour shows, and then I went down to 1 hour after that. After that episode, because I was like, I can't do 2 hours. I don't know how, But then
the hour became too easy.
Yeah, exactly. So now it's not enough time again. We're almost done. Do we need 3-hour blocks? So
yeah, no doubt.
Yep.
We should see if Chris wants to cut back an hour. Well, on Friday and Saturday, that is. No, he's got the most popular show on the network. Go figure.
Yeah, well, no, they've done a good job, and they definitely generated a hell of a following. It's really cool.
Yep.
But he's been such a good friend and mentor, and helped us in so many ways. We look as good as we look because of him and Nick. Progeny of Light, Nick.
Yeah.
He totally, did these graphics you're seeing on the screen and did an amazing job. So, and before that, Chris had done them for me. So right. I'm all kinds of, humbled by you guys and all your support and love. And I hope you are having a great week. You're at Hump Day. You're on the downhill slide to Friday, ladies and gentlemen. And I hope that you will tune in and catch us on Friday on TFR Live here on YouTube, iHeart, TuneIn, TalkStream Live. However you're catching the shows, I hope you catch it on Friday and Saturday. And we'll bring more of this fun and mayhem to you, and hopefully we'll have a good time doing it. And so
Pixie, stop it.
What's she doing?
She's talking about that thing again.
Oh, the portal fun.
God.
8 hours.
No.
So this is a historic idea that I think who, I don't know who came up with it. Was it
It was
Naga?
It was Naga and Naga and Pix, I think. Naga
Yeah, came up with this idea to do an 8-hour portal-a-thon. I suppose I know on YouTube you can't stream over 11 hours.
Oh,
I think
geez.
11 hours is the cutoff, but I don't know. That'd be a tough run. Holy God.
T-Fetch says 8 hours of technical difficulties. Oh, and the strange things.
Way to jinx it.
Yeah,
Hello.
no doubt. Yeah, hey.
No, I don't know. It's definitely, we can certainly look into doing a special episode of some time, but of some kind, but doing an 8-hour run of anything.
Well, yeah.
Unless muscular dystrophy is going to benefit from
yeah,
it.
no doubt.
And we have a whole lot of acts come in and connect and be a part of the show.
Yeah.
I don't know how we do it.
Well, even Art Bell said 5 hours. Because he used to have Coast to Coast AM,
Yeah.
and then 3 or 4 times a year he would do Ghost to Ghost AM.
Ooh.
And so his show was normally 3 hours, but Ghost to Ghost was a 5-hour show.
Wow.
And he says that more than 3 hours is tough.
Yeah, well, I mean, I mean, even these Wednesday nights go really well, but you have to understand we've had no breaks.
Yeah.
We've done it wall to wall.
We're gonna have to party soon.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Ghost to Ghost was my jam, Lady Death says. Yeah. So, I mean, it's fun to think about different promotional ideas we could do for the portal to help spread the word and generate interest. I'm certainly all for anything that helps us expand the dream. Yeah, for sure. So if you guys come up with ideas, but please, again, if you have any kind of paranormal story or happening, please email me at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. Let me know, and I'm going to plan on reading the stories that I do have on Friday. So if you could submit your stories by Friday, I'll include it into the show.
Absolutely.
Love to hear from you guys, and love to hear what you've been through, what you've seen, what you've experienced.
Yeah. And Brian W., if you're still out there, definitely write it down. Definitely write it down. And if you don't want us to, identify you as the writer of the story, that's fine. We'll just say anonymous wrote us, and we'll do that.
Yeah, several of the more recent ones have not wanted to be identified, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. I don't have any reason to want to expose you. If you want to be named, that's cool too. I mean, some people want their name attached to it, and that's cool as well. Whatever you feel like doing, I just love to share your stories and to be a part of that. And again, thank you so much. Have a great last couple days of the week, and we love you dearly. Be kind, be nice to each other, be good to each other, help each other. And Don's doing the parade wave, so his princess wave. He's on the float.
That's the join my basement wave.
Oh, that's creepy. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. But love you all bunches, and take care. And we will be back in a couple days to bring you the Friday portal. Well, I will be, and Don will be joining me on Saturday again. So we'll continue riding this wave as long as you guys are willing to put up with us. So take care, and we'll see you next time, ladies and gentlemen. And
we loves you.
We loves you.
Woo!